Hello. Welcome back to
Totally booked right now.
Maybe that was lined up. I
We'll
thought
see. We'll see.
I thought it's been lined up before and it's not. So it's hard to do.
It
Totally
is.
booked right now. Thanks for joining us. This is part 2 of The Island by Briar Prescott. We left off. Dylan and Adrian are on the island. Things are the tension's starting to tension between them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And one morning, Adrian's woken up by Dylan getting out of the life raft to go pee. And it's been 3 days since Adrian removed that piece of wood from Dylan's foot. But Adrian's still worried about his ability to walk around and he can't fall back asleep. So he gets up, doesn't see Dylan anywhere, starts to worry, and he goes looking for him. He finds Dylan jerking off. This is why you don't follow people.
Yeah. Or like call
on a
out
safe,
first.
deserted island, you know? Dylan doesn't notice Adrian. So Adrian just stands there and watches him and is feeling feelings.
Adrian, you're not straight. I don't know
Right,
if
that's-
you realize.
A totally normal reaction when you...
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He realizes, obviously, he should not be there and he needs to leave. And as he does that, finally, he steps on a branch and it cracks and makes a noise. And so Dylan, they make eye contact right when...
Which I feel like really goes against bro code. I mean, I'm not a bro, but I feel like that would be...
Yes. Did you ever watch The League?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
What is vinegar strokes or whatever?
Yes,
That's
vinegar
what's
strokes.
happening.
Yeah, taco and
Okay.
the vinegar strokes.
Yeah. And so it's a little awkward when Dylan gets back, but Adrian apologizes. They get over it. And then that night, Adrian's having trouble sleeping. And for the first time, it's not because of his recurring nightmares of Dylan dying. It's because he keeps thinking of Dylan. All of Dylan.
You are not bros. Okay, but you're on a deserted island and you've been there for a while. So, you know, I was trying to make additional excuses, but there's none at this point anymore, I don't think.
There's really not. And then Adrian thinks to himself, he's the official pervert of this island. And I was like, well, 50-50 chance, you know?
I mean, you guys haven't talked about it yet, but
yeah. You don't know what's going on in Dylan's mind. Okay, so then later they're trying to secure the life raft because it's the wet season now, so heavier storms are coming through and they don't want their shelter to be destroyed. So Adrian keeps complaining about his hair because it's pretty long. It keeps getting in his face, but he won't let Dylan cut it. And Dylan is really annoyed lately because he's sexually frustrated. And now his number one spank bank memory is Adrian watching him come. He's just over it. And so he makes Adrian sit down. He braids his hair for him. Of course, this is another extremely sexually charged activity between the two of them. Adrian's touch starved, so he wants Dylan to keep touching him even after he's done braiding. Adrian asks Dylan where he learned to braid hair, and Dylan tells him that he learned after Adrian's dad had his accident, and Dylan was really involved helping the family and taking care of Adrian's little sisters. Adrian is like, I don't know what we would have done without you, and Dylan is like, anybody would have done that in my place. Adrian's like, no, they wouldn't. Also, Dylan is family.
Right.
He's so, I don't know. He's been fully adopted into this family since he was 12.
Right. And it's just still not connecting that he really is part of the family. He won't accept it. And we've kind of talked about, like, after being around this family for so long, how can't he just accept this or get it through his head that he's one of them. They consider him one of them for sure. So,
and his internal monologue is Dylan has convinced himself Adrian's family isn't Dylan's family. They never will be. He needs to remember that. He's just trying to pound that into his brain.
And maybe it's the distance thing. Maybe he's just trying to not let his hopes up because being with Adrian or losing Adrian in any way would also mean losing his family. So maybe he's trying to keep that mental distance, but really just...
I know. I feel like that is a big piece that's missing from this book, and that I have a hard time understanding where Dylan is coming from. I wish there had been more of him explaining why he felt this way. It's just him feeling this way, but never having a good reason for me. Like, I'll buy anything you sell me, but it's not being sold to me.
It's like he's just stuck instead of ever advancing or moving on. He's just so stuck in this mindset and he just won't accept it, which is unfortunate, obviously. But just why won't you accept it? Why don't you believe them when they tell you these things, right? So.
Right. And then Adrian, this is where he finally tells him, Adrian's like, thank God I hit you with that soccer ball all those years ago. And Dylan's like, yeah, you have really shitty aim. And Adrian, this is where it comes out that no, he kicked the ball at Dylan on purpose. He wanted to be Dylan's friend. He wanted an in. He just accidentally hit him in the face instead of hit somewhere else on his body. That wouldn't hurt him. And they have this nice little warm moment. Dylan lays down. Adrian lays down on his stomach again. And Dylan keeps running his fingers through his hair. He knows he's stealing these moments with Adrian, but he's like, while we're on the island, I can have this.
Yeah, I think that this is maybe one of the first times that he describes himself as a thief. He uses this terminology and this phrasing a lot throughout this next portion of the book. He really feels like he's stealing Adrian from his real life, basically. Or yeah.
Another interesting thing is Dylan never gives Adrian any agency in his brain. Like, Adrian is a separate person who's making these decisions. Adrian is committed to Freya. Dylan doesn't owe Freya shit, you know?
Right.
And, like, it doesn't... I just don't understand.
I know. It's this whole thing with him just not accepting either himself or his role in their dynamics and their relationship. And I think that he, like what you said, he almost doesn't believe that Adrian would be making these decisions on his own. Like, he really does feel that this is just a temporary thing, and just so much so that he's stealing this time, and he like feels so guilty again about being this way and doing these things, which is not fair to really either of them, if we're being honest. They're just,
Right. It's just things that's happened. Anyway, well, now it's Thanksgiving. It's insane how long they've been there.
Yes.
They just think about food, all the food they could be eating if they weren't stuck on this island. And Adrian reflects on how close to starvation they are, how skinny they are. You know, they're not starving, but if one of their food sources go away, they're screwed. As he's thinking about how skinny Dylan is, he starts trailing his fingers over the hollow dips next to Dylan's hip bones. What? And of course, Dylan is like tenses up because he cannot deal with Adrian touching him. And Adrian's like, "What? I'm just touching you in this highly sexual way. Why are you acting so weird?" and then to change the subject, Dylan asks Adrian what he's thankful for. They have this little back and forth, but the conclusion is that Adrian says he's thankful for Dylan. And he doesn't answer. It turns into this little, I don't know, awkward thing. But much later, when they're in the life raft at night, Dylan finally tells Adrian that he's thankful for him too. And then Adrian sleeps all night with no nightmares. And he thinks it's not the worst Thanksgiving he's ever had, as crazy as that sounds. And I was like, that does sound crazy.
It does.
They're happy in their little bubble. So now, by the beginning of May, we just jump 6 months. The rainy season's ending. Adrian's thinking of Freya less and less, which I think very valid. And it's crazy, too, to think, like, completely cut off from somebody. You can't stalk them on Instagram. You can't accidentally run into them at the grocery store. You're so isolated. How could you even...
You don't know what they're doing. You have there's no way to kind of keep up with... Like, even if they're not in your life really anymore, like, we all know you can still find information on somebody and go do that. So it makes sense. And I feel like it also, when this line came up, I think that it's not stated, but that they are a little bit resigned at this point that maybe help is not coming. And so I think part of Adrian thinking of her less and less has a lot to do with the way he's maybe looking or thinking about Dylan at this point in the book, but also because I think that he has started to lose hope a little bit with them really being found or, ever being rescued. So
the Pacific is a vast, empty pit of nothing. And I mean, he does say, I think of her less and less, not on purpose. And that seems very real to me. And he feels guilty. But then something happens where the island tries to kill them. The real world feels very far away again. You know, they're extremely isolated. Dylan turns 25 in June, and they both ignore his birthday, just like they ignored Adrian's a few months before. It's just too painful for them to think about the party they would be having if they were with his family and how sad everybody has to be. I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, I'm looking at
that anniversary, you know.
Just like thinking of it from the opposite side, like from because they don't even really know what happened. I mean, I'm assuming they know that the plane went down, but they have no idea if they potentially survived for a couple days, for a couple weeks, if they're still alive. I think that the
Right.
question of wanting to know what happened would be from the family standpoint, that would be the hardest part, is just
Oh, yeah,
really
not
not
having an
knowing.
answer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally. And they've now been on the island for a year, which is insane, which we're basically talking about. One morning, Adrian climbs a tree to gather more coconuts, and he falls and dislocates his shoulder. Dylan's able to pop it back into place and make him this makeshift sling. This made me nervous, though, because after I watched Outlander and learned from Claire Beecham, that you have to have your arm in the right position. Just pop. You can't just necessarily pop something back into place. Could break your arm. Everything's fine, but
Thank goodness. Yes.
phew. Turns out Adrian fell from the tree because he thought he saw a contrail in the sky, and they both kind of reflect on how having hope is so exhausting, and maybe they should just accept that they live here now.
Yeah.
Bummer.
I know. Like we were just saying, like, I think there's some resignation going on in this point in the story for both of them. They both are just like, this is it. This is our life.
It really did scare me when he fell too. I was,
Me too.
I have no survival skills at all. So it's stressful.
It is so stressful.
So then a few days, weeks later, Adrian calls frantically for Dylan. I think it was just a few, maybe a week or so, but who comes running. It turns out Adrian's found a crab. He's keeping it trapped with his foot. So they throw that baby on the fire and they eat it. It doesn't necessarily fill them up, but it's different. So they're psyched that they're eating different food. Afterward, Adrian lays his head on Dylan's stomach again. Dylan's struggling internally with all the things he wants to do to Adrian. And they start this little back and forth again because Adrian asks if Dylan's okay. And Dylan's thinking he can't put space between them. Adrian, it'll make it weird. Now it's been too long that if he starts to change stuff, then Adrian will be like, what? And he's like, I should, though. It's going to make it easier on me, blah, blah, blah. But the last thing he wants is for things to get weird between him and Adrian. And Dylan's like, well, I didn't know I was going to be your pillow. They start this silent war that they used to play this game as kids too, where it's like whoever makes the first noise loses, but they're just fucking with each other, pulling each other's hair and all this stuff. This culminates and Adrian licks Dylan's abdomen in retaliation for a wet lick. I'm like, in my mind, Adrian made the first move, baby. Are you kidding me? This is
exactly what I thought too.
Stomach.
Like the touch starving, like the kind of need for maybe closeness or cuddling is one thing. Licking his stomach, that is inviting a whole new dynamic. That is so different.
Licking his stomach. Woo! Woo! Okay, of course, Dylan cannot deal. Completely tenses up. He's ready to go. And he makes a noise. So he loses. But Adrian's head is also right, like in his lap, basically. So he realizes right away that Dylan's hard. And it's like they both sit up, and look at each other.
Awkward.
And yeah, Dylan tries to apologize, but his voice is all gravelly, full of desire. He's lust filled. Adrian, instead of moving away like Dylan expects, he moves closer and they start making out.
Which I was like shocked at this point that it went like it was kind of, there was tension building between them in an interesting way.
It's been a year in the making, maybe longer.
But at this one point, like you said, I'm like, Adrian, you are the instigator of all of this. Which, like, looking back as we were kind of annotating and going through and summarizing this, I was like, how, it's so interesting to go back and relook at it a second time through, because it was like, you knew that Dylan was pining the entire time. But in reality, I really feel like Adrian was the instigator for everything. Because Dylan, we know he's had years and years of these feelings and he's never acted on them.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. And he never would have, I don't think. And Dylan's just thinking that he needs to take as much as he can right now before Adrian comes to his senses. And this is probably his only chance. We switch to Adrian's point of view. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, this feels wrong, but it also doesn't feel wrong. It's unfamiliar. It's scary, but it's also good. So he thinks maybe he should stop it, but he also feels alive. And it's a nice break from feeling scared all the time.
Which, valid.
Yeah, right. That's a good distraction. He also thinks that it's like, quote, he can finally inhale after years of holding my breath, which obviously is much longer than they've been on the island.
Years.
years. Sir, are you exaggerating, or is that, is that real? He's very turned on. He also loves that he's letting Dylan make these decisions right now. We know he was interested in the control part of everything. Dylan ends up on top of Adrian. They're laying in the sand. He pulls back for a minute, tries to gather himself, and Adrian thinks he's going to stop. So he starts touching Dylan again, and that's all Dylan needs. Green light. Dylan rips Adrian's sling off. He was all worried about his arm, but not anymore. And yeah, he's like, this is coming off right now.
Yeah.
And things continue in this manner until they both come via fraudage, which I learned about thanks to Heated Revelry. If you don't know what that is, I don't think I'm the person to teach you about it. So Google it.
Maybe,
but be warned.
With caution. Yes, with caution.
Just imagine one bun and two hot dogs.
Perfect example.
Okay. So Dylan is in emo town the next morning. If he could have run away, he would have, but he can't because he's on an island, and Adrian chooses to ignore the gigantic elephant in the room, but that annoys Dylan. They get in a fight, and Adrian storms off. Then a storm starts to roll in. Dylan gets worried because Adrian's not back. It's been a few hours, and so Dylan goes to look for him, and then the storm hits. So it's pouring rain, thundering, lightning. A tree gets hit by lightning, like right next to Dylan. And then Adrian shows up out of nowhere, and they both end up in this cave to have shelter. Yeah. So they're all amped up. They start making out again. It is hot and heavy. Things are escalating. And Dylan sucks Adrian's dick. I mean, yeah. I don't know how else to say it.
Yep.
And again, Adrian's down. And Dylan thinks earlier, he's also like, I'm so glad this cave is dim because it's easier for Adrian to imagine me as someone else. I'm like, Dylan, get over yourself, man.
Right.
I don't think he cares. But yeah, because then he's like, I see the blatant need in Adrian's eyes. I'm like, yeah, he wants your dick.
Yes, he wants sex for sure.
Like, he's into you, my guy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Adrian's about to come, but Dylan stops and asks Adrian to have sex with him. And Dylan's thinking, like, this isn't the way he imagined it. He wanted it to be this slow seduction, a discussion beforehand. We love consent. There's no time for that. We're in a cave. This is serious.
It's pouring rain.
Yeah.
Every day is life or death. So no time.
And so, yeah. He also tries to downplay all of this by saying he needs it and not you. But anyway, he tells Adrian he'll walk him through it. So, because Adrian's like, oh my God. And then Adrian says, I'm going to take care of you. I was like, yep, that'll do it.
What is
it's like a
happy thank you more, please? Yes.
Yeah. But it's like this is like a surprisingly like sweetly intimate and nice little time for them. And then
it is.
Like Adrian's very like they love each other. Duh.
Yes.
Even if
it's platonically kind of.
But it's not platonic.
Yes.
But yeah, they're best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they do have sex of the anal variety with no lube, but just some good old-fashioned spit.
Ouch.
Right. And it's like, I don't care how clean you are on an island. You're covered in salt and or sand. I guess they were rained on, but
you still haven't showered in a year.
I don't know. Yeah.
So how clean can you really be?
Anyway, it's fantasy. It's a book.
Yes.
Let's pretend.
They're fine.
Adrian seems like he's ready to keep the intimacy going after it's all over. But Dylan ruins it by being all nonchalant, like, thanks, buddy. You want to go lift weights or kill something? And Adrian's a little hurt, but Dylan's convinced he'll be relieved later once he comes to his senses. And then Dylan worries about what this will do to Adrian later. He remembers Freya, blah, blah, blah. Then as they're leaving the cave after the storm is over, Dylan asks Adrian if he's okay. And then I'm assuming it was Dylan that says this, but I also was like, I'm not sure. But no matter what, somebody says it was good. You were good. Like a menace. Like whoever said it is fucking,
I think it was Adrian.
Leaving no prisoners. See, okay. I mean, I literally was going back and forth because I could see Adrian saying it, which woof to Dylan.
Yeah.
I could also see Dylan saying it, which woof to Adrian. Like, insane either way.
Mhm. Pretty big admittance, and whoever actually went through and said that. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Also Dylan has a moment, like, in the whole they're about to have sex when he's like, he says, "Stop me," which
Mhm.
I always love that
I
micro
know.
trope as well. "Tell me to
Like,
stop.
"Tell me
Tell
to
me to
stop.
tell me not to do it."
I have no control. Tell me to stop."
Yeah. "I'll listen to you, but if you don't say it, there's no turning back." Woo! Okay. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty intense,
It really was.
overall. Cave scene, yeah,
Yes, it was a lot. It was a lot.
pretty intense.
So I'm just going to preface this next section of me reading this with mentioning that there's quite a bit of sex scenes that are coming up. And I am an awkward person, so good luck listening to me talk to you about these things happening. Okay? Okay. So
Yes.
we're cutting to the next morning. Adrian is lying down in their life raft shelter alone, and he's having a fairly substantial identity crisis after they hooked up. And Adrian is like afraid to even look at Dylan. He feels like this is really out of his character, and he knows that things have really irrevocably changed between him and Dylan after this. He's questioning what his sexuality actually is, and he starts spiraling for thinking about cheating on Feyre and kind of questioning, like, how did I maybe not realize this about maybe
Yeah.
myself, or why have I not realized this before? Why
But
did it take
even when
this?
he talks about cheating on her, he's like, I'm engaged to the woman I love more than, well, not anyone. He can't even say that he loves her more than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, I love a lot of people.
Just want to put that out there. I love
Yeah.
love. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. But he did have, I feel like meeting her was a seismic shift in his life, though.
It was. And he talks about that. I mean, we discuss, even family members, Dylan, they recognized that this was him meeting Freya was a big moment for him. There's no doubt
Mhm.
that he loves her and is attracted to her, no matter what kind of is going on currently. And so talking about how he's kind of confused, he doesn't really quite understand how he, let alone this maybe bisexuality attraction to men, he's never looked at Dylan this way. He admits it. He has never viewed Dylan in that way. But he decides that it just has to be his loneliness mixed with desperation and how horny and pent up he's been because they've been on this island for over a year. I made a little note here because we know that Dylan has been masturbating. I mean, Adrian caught him, but we don't, there's no really mention that Adrian has done the same. So
yeah, I think there is something about him. He says, like, when they very first hook up, where he's like, it's been a year. Like, he hasn't
it's been a year.
done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that they have done that, Adrian is starting to get very turned on, even just thinking about what him and Dylan did. He's got a potent desire for him and he's craving more. You're not straight. Okay. But he doesn't really know how to bring this up to Dylan. He really has no idea. So, but he decides that he does need to go try to find him and maybe try to, mend the bridges a little bit. When he does go find Dylan, he's sitting on the beach facing away from Adrian. And they do have kind of that awkward, like, hey, how'd you sleep? Okay, how about you kind of thing. But Dylan ultimately blurts out that he feels like he took advantage of Adrian and that it shouldn't have happened. He's very worried about Adrian's freaking out about it. And Adrian, we get his internal monologue at this point that says that it's not really the fact that it was a man that he's concerned with, but it's Dylan and what it means for their friendship and their future. And kind of if they ever get off the island and go back to real life, like, what is that going to look like for them going forward? Yeah. Dylan attempts to give Adrian an out with excuses of people doing stupid things when they're stuck and alone and sad.
Right.
But
and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'd ever do that.
I don't think it would matter how lonely I was. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I'm not having, I love my best friend. I don't want to have sex with her.
Yeah. Nope.
So
I'm good. Thanks. We can cuddle. We've talked about this. We can cuddle. Yes. We can get that human connection, but not that type of connection.
It would be pretty fun to be on an island with her, but that wouldn't escalate.
Yes. However, this whole thing, it kind of pisses Adrian off. He's not super thrilled with Dylan kind of brushing off this encounter. And Dylan tells Adrian not to read too much into it, that he still is the same person he was before. No, he's not. Okay. He's not.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Now we kind of switch over to Dylan's point of view. This is still the morning after, and he takes a walk around the jungle to try to clear his head after their discussion. And he's like, I have hid my feelings for Adrian for years. I can still continue to do this, even though this just happened between us. And once he gets back, they try to kind of make things more normal within their friendship. They talk about soccer and they try to think about what's going on in the rest of the world. But Dylan can't stop getting turned on while watching Adrian do simple tasks and
Right.
kind of
Which he had a problem with before. Now
before.
it's even worse.
Yes. And now he's kind of debating on whether he should try to instigate or if they should do anything again. And we talked about this a little bit where, Dylan in the cave, he's like, well, he's a good thing it's dark. He can pretend it's somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts thinking about this line of thought again. And he's kind of concerned that Adrian was maybe not actually turned on or is attracted by Dylan, but that he's just taking what he can get at this point because they are so lonely.
Yeah. Which I feel like is a valid
Yeah, I think
thought. I can understand that.
I can understand why he's feeling that way. Then we start feeling guilty about Freya again, which, like, honestly, we get it at this point. Stop feeling guilty about that.
Right. Yeah. We get it.
We get it. It's already happened, so.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian convinces Dylan to go for a swim because what really else do they have to do? And Adrian blatantly checks Dylan out once he's stripped down. And he's in his probably very skimpy at this point, holy
like
underwear.
Threadbare. Yeah.
Like, what's even the point?
See-through underwear, right.
Yeah. They start play fighting in the water, and once they're done, Dylan starts floating on his back and looking up at the sky. This seems ridiculous to me that an adult doesn't know how to float in the water, but Adrian does. He's still never figured it out.
It's salt water. Like, you're more buoyant.
Yep. And you've
like
been on an island for a year and you still haven't figured out, like, you haven't gone swimming and done this yet.
Oh my God, I don't know how to play pool. Will you teach me, please?
I think it's Adrian's excuse to get Dylan to touch him again.
100%.
Because that is exactly what happens. Adrian is laying on his back in the water, and Dylan kind of helps him arch his back. It involves some additional touching, but Dylan is just super happy because he gets to stare at Adrian while he's trying to float, and he starts thinking about kissing him again. Now, Dylan is a little bit of an instigator at this point. He starts to trace water droplets across Adrian's torso because he just can't help himself. And Adrian stands up in the water and hauls Dylan into a passionate kiss at this point. So it was all contrived. Adrian was trying to get Dylan to touch him more so that he could instigate this again.
And it worked.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
They kind of give each other a meaningful look, and they head back to shore, and they strip out of their underwear on the way up there, and they're giving each other these suggestive eyes. They use this phrase, and it makes me laugh. I'm imagining like some weirdo going like eyebrows.
The eyebrow waggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I hate. I don't like that phrasing, but
okay.
Yeah.
How about their eyes darkened and then?
But that always makes. I'm like, how does it? I don't. There's some
Shark
phrases
eyes.
in books that like deep demonic pits.
I mean, have you ever had a cat attack you? Their pupils get huge.
Yes. Those butt heads. So basically, they're making eyes at each other, and they make some jokes about eating each other, which is exactly what Dylan does. He tackles Adrian into the sand, and we brought this up, or I don't know if we've brought this up yet, but doing things in the sand, particularly like just in the sand, not just maybe having sand on you, but they are now just on the beach. Yeah. Like, sand is going into crevices that you don't
and
probably
they
want
just got out of the water. They're soaking wet.
Salty,
they don't have a
sticky.
towel. There's
No.
just, I hate the beach.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Fresh water only. Thank you.
Yes. And Dylan teases Adrian for just a little bit, then he gives him a nice beej, if you know what I mean. Oh gosh, Dylan gives great head and swallows it all while thinking about how in love with Adrian he is. So
I'm maybe not mature enough to cover this book.
I know. This is making me rethink reading any romances. Okay. Dylan, once he's done, he gets up and starts jerking off while Adrian insists to do it himself and starts kissing Dylan and gives him a hand job. So once Dylan finishes and is coming down from his post-orgasmic bliss, he becomes terrified of Adrian regretting everything. But Adrian pulls Dylan back from the brink and assures him that it was better than good. So much better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Adrian's really taking some steps. Like, I could see if he was truly, like Dylan, let's just look at this objectively. If he didn't, was he want to imagine somebody else? Sure. You giving him head, whatever. He can just close his eyes, pretend, all that other stuff. But him going out of his way to touch you,
he
the writing's on the wall, man.
He wants all of it. He wants the whole experience.
Yeah.
So after this, they have sex a lot, but they don't talk about it, and they don't talk about feelings or anything real. And everything that they do talk about is still very surface level about their survival.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan will pull away sometimes, and Adrian can't get a read on why, but he lets him do it and just assumes that everyone needs some space sometimes. I mean, it's just the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of brushes off Dylan's need for distance from him because of that. And I wish that Adrian would have kind of put 2 and 2 together, that Dylan was not doing this really prior to their first encounter. So that's...
Yeah, like something's different. They're dumb.
Exactly. Yeah.
The miscommunication is in full force.
This is the only other person you can talk to about this. Right. So, why aren't you getting it off your chest? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Adrian does admit to himself that it feels good, and he does not want to stop what they're doing. Dylan is kind of under this assumption that at some point that these feelings of desire and hunger are going to go away, and Adrian's going to realize what a terrible idea it's been and really kind of put a halt to this new sexual part of their relationship to keep their friendship the same as it was before.
Mm-hmm.
But really, nothing has changed. They're still the same friends, but they're just having sex a lot now. This is, again, Dylan is thinking about he's being a thief. He's taking advantage of Adrian, which, back to your point, Adrian is his own person. He could stop this at any time. He is also an initiator of a lot of their contact that they're having right this point. So for Dylan to still, he's so repressed in his thoughts and kind of his validity in Adrian's life at all. He still can't wrap his head around any of this.
Yeah, I was getting a little annoyed with Dylan at this point.
Come on, get out of it, So one day, Adrian catches the biggest fish they've ever caught, and after their celebratory dinner, Adrian gives Dylan a massage. They're both getting turned on by this and teasing each other about it. Adrian compliments how nice of a butt Dylan has while basically humping him while he's giving him a massage.
Yeah. Can any massage just be a massage? No. Never.
Especially not in a romance. God. They're on a romantic beach together. I mean, it's the same beach they've, lived on for a year.
There's a fire. Candlelight. Ooh. Love
the
it.
sounds of the ocean, it's very relaxing. So Adrian spanks Dylan, and then Dylan kind of snarks at him about the massage not being relaxing anymore, which causes Adrian to tell Dylan to roll over and wants to see if he can try something, which Dylan says anything. And I'm
Dylan,
imagining,
you desperate slut.
He's just you can do anything to me, maybe even just whatever you want. And Adrian responds with, you really shouldn't give that promise out so casually. And Dylan counters with, I don't, but it's you. So he's I will do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to the more graphic part of this scene where, Adrian gives Dylan a blowjob for the first time.
Yeah. First, Adrian says, let me take care of you.
Again,
he's a menace. Yeah.
Absolute
Excuse
menace.
me, sir.
I know. Oh, goodness. So Dylan is very impressed by Adrian's skills for being a newbie. He has never done this before. And
just
finds Dylan's prostate. Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Yep.
So... Yep. And Dylan describes this orgasm that he has as something he's never experienced and loves every second of it. Adrian checks in to make sure that it was really that good. When Dylan offers to reciprocate, Adrian assures him that they have time, and Dylan wants to stay on the island with Adrian forever at this point.
Yes.
Goodness sakes. Okay, I need to take a little breather. Take a little drink of water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're a real one.
These scenes were, yeah. Yep. We divvied this up and I was like, wow, thanks. I got to talk about all these. Okay. So next chapter, it's some time later. And Dylan is grumbling about sand getting in his ass, and it's brought to our attention that
valid.
they don't that they don't really wear clothes anymore. After this all started and after being on the island for so long, I would assume that their clothes are pretty threadbare anyway. But, easy access is one of Adrian's main reasons for not wanting to really wear clothes anymore.
Yeah.
And Adrian is attempting to give Dylan a haircut. We know that they've been kind of helping each other with grooming and maintenance while they've been there. And Adrian is kind of internally thinking about their intimacy and that what they're doing is not simply fucking, but he recognizes that he does indeed have other feelings for Dylan. So this is kind of a pivotal moment. It's the first time Adrian kind of brings up the fact that he recognizes that he does have feelings, and he's kind of comparing these feelings to the way he felt for Freya and the first time that he met her. But he also is looking back and saying, well, I've known Dylan forever. So he doesn't really know how to feel that he's having these feelings now about someone that he's known for such a long time. But it's like he's getting to know this new side of him, which is what is bringing these feelings out. This haircut is, again, a very intimate situation for them, and it leads to each of them jerking each other off and joking about needing to go for a swim and clean themselves off for the millionth time. Like that's all that they seem to be doing. So, yes, because Dylan has been keeping track of their days, he starts thinking about how school is going to be starting soon, and he admits how much he misses it. Adrian says that, hey, you can re-enroll when you get home.
Yeah, by this time, it's also been over 2 years.
Yes.
They had said that earlier, but
yes,
I don't know if you said it.
I did not, so thank you. But Dylan admits he's not
crazy.
really yeah, that's such a long time living off of coconuts and fish. That's it.
Yeah.
Dylan is talking about going back to school, and he starts talking about how he doesn't know how he's really going to go back to his old life, and he's not sure if he'll go back to school. Adrian interprets this that he is going to come back with him to the Boston area, and this conversation starts to spark Adrian pushing Dylan for why he picked San Francisco. Why did he pick somewhere that was all the way across the country to go to school instead of close to them? Because we knew from earlier in the book that, Dylan didn't want to travel originally because he said there were good schools in the Boston area. So why would he want to go? Dylan gives him kind of a non-answer that the school was good, and Adrian pushes more and says, well, there's good schools in Boston. Yeah. Dylan reluctantly admits that he didn't even apply to schools that were close by because he
please
couldn't stay.
Confess. Yeah,
I know.
Please
he
confess.
needs
please
to tell him. He needs to. Yeah.
So dumb and annoying.
I know. When Adrian tries to push further, Dylan still refuses to answer. Adrian then asks Dylan if he's going to come back to Boston with him, which Dylan responds with, why does it matter? Because there's been so many rescue planes since we've been here. Like he's trying to really avoid this conversation. He is trying to not think about the future, not think about why he left in the first place. And he follows this all up with, you don't need me anyway. We've gone over this so many times, but Adrian is like, yes, I do. And he reminds him that they both have a life to get back to, but Adrian refuses to say Freya's name, and they haven't even brought her up at all in months.
Yeah, they never talk about her. I don't even remember the last time.
Yes, it's been a long time. I mean, Adrian's been trying to forget her, and he's been thinking about her less, and it's not even in this conversation that is what Adrian is talking about going back to.
Yeah.
Adrian decides that... Sorry.
Well, I don't know exactly where, but this quote I highlighted because Adrian's thinking it. He's the only real thing in my life. I have to make it clear. I have to show him. I have to make him need me as much as I need him in my life, because I do. It's not just that I want him with me. Wanting implies some agency. I don't have any. I need him. Like,
yes.
Dude. Which I mean, like Adrian, at least he can like admit that to himself. I mean, I guess Dylan does too, but it's like, could you just say it out loud? That'd be cool.
I know.
Maybe if you need to show him that how much you need him, you just tell him that.
I need you. Please come back with me. It's that simple. It's that simple. Okay. Adrian decides that he needs to prove to Dylan that he should come back with him. And they do kind of one of those rapid fire questionnaire type things where he asks him a question and Dylan just has to answer with the first thing that comes to his mind. So he's like, East Coast versus West Coast. And, Dylan's East Coast. So He's kind of proving to him that he should come back there. Adrian asks Dylan to describe his dream home, and it sounds very close to Adrian's own family home growing up, what Dylan describes. At this point, Adrian starts to picture this future with Dylan as he's describing it, which confuses the fuck out of him. And Dylan can tell that's what Adrian is also picturing. It pisses Dylan off that he was so vulnerable with Adrian, and it feels like he showed all of his cards because Adrian doesn't really respond or say anything. And Dylan calls him an asshole and storms off, which Adrian then does not follow. So huge
and I'm
miscommunication.
Like, he feels so, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you feel like you laid out all your cards, and yet Adrian still doesn't know anything.
Right. He can't tell that you're
He's not
describing.
like, Dylan's in love with me.
He is not describing a future where two platonic best friends live in a house together.
Right.
He's describing
cottage,
a literal
baby.
future with you. The cottage. So we cut to Dylan now. He's thinking about all that he just revealed and describes himself again as a thief. He feels very guilty about stealing Adrian. He is a willing participant, though. So, like, again, Dylan really needs to stop freaking out about this.
Yeah.
He makes his way back over to Adrian, and they both attempt to apologize at the same time. Dylan says he's sorry for what he said and that he's been thinking about home a lot. So he's trying to make excuses again for kind of why he was vulnerable and kind of told Adrian these things.
But Adrian was thinking all of the same things. I think this is his point of view. Adrian says, I started this game. I didn't know what I'd started. Is like imagining their house, how confused and messed up it'd make me feel, how in my head I'm in that house with Dylan forever because there isn't another option. There is no way for me to be anywhere else but with him. That's what he's thinking about, the house exercise.
Yes. And yet?
Right, and they just can't. They're like two ships passing in the night.
I'm going to interject something real quick because we've texted and talked about this a little bit before.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I really think the miscommunication trope works on an romance level, and we've joked about this, is because boys are stupid and they're terrible at communicating. And so you can kind of understand, because you've been in those situations or relationships with people who are terrible at communicating, and it's all men. And you know that so when it's two dudes, of course, they're not going to communicate very well with each other.
Yes.
It is more believable of a trope. The miscommunication trope is so much more believable because
right. Well, and know, it's like, okay, one of these motherfuckers is going to have to figure it out.
Yes, someone's going to have to step up to the emotional plate and take one for the team and be the one to go out on a limb. Yes. They apologize to each other. It's still pretty awkward. However, Adrian reluctantly agrees to like them kind of chilling out about it. And Dylan still feels that Adrian's kind of upset with him about the whole thing. They eat a very awkward dinner and go to bed where Dylan pretends to be asleep when Adrian tries to talk to him further about their fight. So idiots.
Punk.
Idiots. Okay. This leads to, though, Dylan is very concerned that Adrian is going to finally put the pieces together on how long he's had feelings for him, especially if he does kind of figure out the school distance thing. And he said, I couldn't stay in that conversation. And things kind of continue to be awkward between them, but they're still doing the horizontal tango. Nothing has prevented them from stopping that portion of their relationship.
The beast of two backs.
Dylan decides he's just going to be happy, though, and just enjoy this for as long as he can. So we're back around again, and they do know that it's Dylan's birthday again at this point. So it's been, another 6 to 9 months. Adrian catches a massive crab for them to eat. There's some banter and joking about a fancy dinner and what would be on the menu for Dylan's special day. Adrian goes to get some coconuts and is de-husking one of them when he hears a strange shriek, which it's never said what it was. I think it was a bird, maybe, or something, an animal making a weird noise.
I was like, what was it? Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know. But basically, he accidentally smashes his hand with a rock, and it gets stuck between those two rocks because he's de-husking the coconut. So... Yeah.
I was like, how heavy and giant is this rock? Why would you do that? Like, what the, just so many. But I guess if you do this every single day, multiple times a day,
you probably have a set rock that you...
Right. Oh, God, yeah, this was horrible. I was like, no.
Yeah. Anyway, Dylan rushes over to help him, but it's obvious it's a pretty serious injury. Adrian's bones are definitely broken. Dylan helps him
His fingers are
remove the top
completely
rock.
smashed. Yeah.
They're hamburger meat, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan helps him remove the rock that's crushing his hand, and Adrian is in a ton of pain. Dylan takes him back to the life raft, and he makes a splint out of some branches or sticks for him, and he keeps repeating over and over that everything will be okay.
Yeah, and this he starts calling him baby, like, constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, which is the first time we hear that, and it's very. I mean, I don't know how delirious
it's like
with pain you have to
sweet,
be.
but it's also like, oh my God, no. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
So stressful,
Terrible.
so stressful.
Adrian is attempting to hide the pain from Dylan, but it's obvious it's very bad. He tries to get him to eat and drink, but Adrian is pale and he doesn't have an appetite. Dylan helps Adrian lay down, and Adrian admits that he doesn't feel good. Of all the things that have happened on the island, they really have put on a brave face for each other at this point and, not tried to show any pain or being uncomfortable with things. And for Adrian to just flat out admit, I don't feel good. We know that this is bad. Things are not
100% the worst thing that's happened.
Yes. Adrian develops a bad fever, and Dylan gives him some of their very low supply of painkillers, but they're just like over the counter. I'm assuming they're like an Advil, Tylenol, ibuprofen, something like that. So that's really not going to do anything for some broken fingers.
No.
Yeah. By the morning, Adrian can barely swallow anything, even water, and Dylan is beyond concerned for Adrian's health at this point. He tells Adrian that he needs to check on the wound, and Adrian is sweating and almost crying and passing out from Dylan just unwrapping the bandages on his hand. The tips of Adrian's fingers are black, and the skin below his knuckles is red and inflamed. He's definitely got an infection. Dylan downplays it to Adrian and applies some antiseptic ointment just to try to feel like he's doing something, but he doesn't think it's really actually doing anything to help at this point. Adrian passes out from the pain of him simply putting the antiseptic on. And he's in and out of consciousness throughout the day, and Dylan does everything he can to combat the fever. It talks about their shelter is this rubber life raft, so it actually gets really hot in their life raft during the day, even though it's kind of, they've created this shaded area that's kind of like, my imagination for this was like a life raft, and then they like put branches, like it almost looked like a teepee around it. Is that kind of how you imagined it?
Yes, yes. And I mean, they're on a tropical island. It's never cold. Never.
Yes. I think he talks about, he goes into the ocean and like gets his clothing wet and tries to put it on Adrian to try to help cool him down. He's doing really everything he can to try to help him. By that evening, Dylan braves looking at his hand again. He didn't think it could look any worse, but it does compared to the morning. In his fever haze, Adrian asks to look at his hand, which Dylan reluctantly lets him do. Adrian calmly looks at his hand and tells Dylan that they need to cut his fingers off so the infection doesn't spread. So I'm thinking of this. He's got some kind of blood infection. They kind of talk about how he's getting these red striations down his fingers and into his hand. So gangrene might be setting in. There's all these pretty bad things like.
Right. I mean, you have no idea.
Yeah, this was so
I was
gross.
like, God damn it, the infection. I know this is like really horrifying.
Yes,
even to relive right now.
Yeah, they kind of argue over this. Dylan absolutely does not want to do this, but he also knows it's probably the only way to save Adrian's life, because if this blood infection does spread, he's doesn't have long. He uses some antiseptic to clean the knife, and Adrian reassures Dylan that he can do this, but also begs him not to let him die, which just really putting the pressure on him. Hey, cut off my fingers and don't let me die, please.
Yeah.
Whew. And so Dylan kind of maneuvers Adrian out of the tent so that they can get close to the fire. And smartly, Dylan does stick the knife in the fire to kind of sterilize it a little bit, but also so that it's hot enough to cauterize the wound after he cuts his fingers off. Dylan is terrified, but as always, Dylan tries to comfort him with some dad jokes. So he's been delirious in and out of fever, but Adrian is doing everything he can to try to kind of keep Dylan's spirits up. And Dylan has to break Adrian's fingers first before he can chop them off, because I'm assuming
he tells him to do that. I was like, the gasp, I gasped. I was like, no. But yeah, I think it would just be easier to cut through with the knife and break the finger. But oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God.
And because it sounds like it was like his last two fingers, and that like the rock smashed them probably like here. And so he was like going to cut them off at the, yeah. Okay, so Dylan breaks Adrian's fingers first and then cuts them off, and it's a sound Dylan says he will never forget. I cannot imagine.
The breaking.
So Dylan is super freaked out by what he had to do, and he throws
horror. Up. Yeah.
Hey, same. I would be throwing up.
Same, buddy. Yeah.
But things are starting to get a little concerning now because Dylan has not been taking care of himself the last 2 days because he's been trying to take care of Adrian and keep an eye on him and keep his fever from getting worse. And he's a little delirious at this point that he almost starts drinking the seawater, which will kill him.
Mm-hmm. Rule number 1.
Yeah, do not drink the
seawater.
Yeah. He stops himself, thankfully, and goes back and tends the fire and checks on Adrian again, who is unconscious and has been since Dylan cut his fingers off, and his fever is raging at this point again. Dylan knows he needs to do something to take care of himself to keep Adrian alive, because if something happens to Dylan, Adrian is definitely dead as well. So
he heads. He would want to live either.
No. He heads out of their raft to get some water because they have their water collection system with the coconut husks, and he sees a light in the distance. He tries to decide what to do because they only have one. No, they have 2 flares, but they only have the one gun, and he's worried that he's imagining things.
No, they only have the one flare left because they shot that other one off in the rain.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, but dummies, like...
Yes.
Let's shoot it off in the pouring rain. Anyway, yes.
But he's kind of delusional right now. So he's worried that he's actually imagining this. However, he thinks to himself that this might be the only chance to save Adrian because he still hasn't woken up. Dylan makes a plan to go for it. He packs up their raft and puts Adrian in it and pushes them out into the ocean towards the light. Dylan's worried he's making the wrong decision with so little water and food to take with him on the raft, but he decides that if it gets really dire, he can always turn around. Ultimately, he knows he has to try or Adrian will die, which is heavy. This is
I think he also... Yeah, I mean, hey, Adrian's dying anyway. This is your Hail Mary, but I think he also wants to try to get closer to the light before he shoots the flare off. He's worried. That was one of the other things he thinks about too.
Yes, he was concerned that if he does it from the island, if he kind of wants to reassure himself that the light's real too. So he decides to start taking them out towards it.
Yeah, but I think he also, maybe they're already out there. I just had, no. But once again, my hands are shaking as I push the raft away from the shore. I'm going to get us both killed. The thing is, I have no idea if anybody is still out there. The light was only visible when it was dark. So I think it's even it's daytime.
Morning, or he's kind of
preparing. Yeah.
Adrian only has plastic oars, so he's thankful that the waves aren't too big as he's pushing them out into the ocean. But the farther he gets away from land, the bigger the waves get, and Dylan starts to worry when he doesn't see anything ahead of him anymore, and he's even concerned about being able to get back to the island because the waves are starting to get too big that he can't see anything ahead or behind him. He's also super low on food and water, and he recognizes that he's probably not making good decisions at this point. He's not thinking through things very well. But every thought that he does have is revolved around trying to get Adrian the help that he desperately needs in order to survive. Dylan has been rowing for an undetermined amount of time. He says he feels like it's been hours, and he needs to rest, so he goes and lays down next to Adrian. He's so dehydrated that he doesn't have any tears left, but he tells Adrian that he loves him and that he tried to save him. They have said I love you to each other platonically, but this is Dylan telling Adrian, I love you, I love you. Yes.
Yeah. He also is like, don't leave me here, please. Wherever you go, I'll follow you.
Oh, so sad. God. Adrian wakes up. I don't know if I would call it that, but he comes out of his unconsciousness very briefly and asks why they're swinging around and what all the movement is, and tells Dylan that it was nice to hear him say, I love you. So that I love you brought him back from unconsciousness a little bit. So Dylan says it again, and then Adrian tells him that he loves him too. Then they both fall asleep. Okay. Adrian starts waking up and hears Part 3, yes. I was like, wait, there's a break here.
There was a while too where I was like, are they ever getting off this island? And I was like, they have to. There's part 3 of the book.
Yeah, there's part 3, yes. Okay. So Adrian starts waking up, and notices that while the birds are quieter than normal, they're annoying with their repetitiveness. Adrian thinks that he's dead, but then slowly wakes up and realizes that he's in a hospital. His next thought is Dylan! Immediately, like, oh my God, where is Dylan, right? I'm imagining one of those crazy hospital scenes where someone's moving around like crazy and trying to rip
that always
stuff
stresses
out
me
of.
out. Yeah, so bad. People are trying to rip the
Yeah, the IVs and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you ever watch Isn't It Romantic?
No, I didn't. I need to.
Bitch. Okay, there's an IV scene in there, so.
Yeah. So Adrian is like trying to get out of bed, and he looks around his room and he sees Dylan is curled up and is asleep in a chair next to him he also has an IV attached to him.
It's like, how long do they have to get fluids for? It's probably so long.
Days. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The noise that Adrian was making while he was trying to get up causes Dylan to wake up. But before they can talk to each other, a nurse comes in and welcomes Adrian back, quote unquote. Adrian is very overwhelmed with the amount of people, like doctors and nurses, that keep coming in and out of his room after that. And he brings up how loud everything is and just how many people there are around him, which I loved this little detail in the book, because to go from being isolated on an island with one other person to being around that many people would be so overwhelming.
Yeah, totally.
So overwhelming. So he seeks Dylan out for comfort, and they make intense eye contact with each other and basically just ignore everyone else in the room and everything else that's going on around them. And so without paying attention to anyone but Dylan, all of a sudden the room is cleared out and Dylan gets into Adrian's hospital bed with him, where they snuggle up and go to sleep together. So this is, they're safe, but they've been found. Dylan wakes up and is watching Adrian sleep and is listening to the noises all around him. He has an urge to distance himself from Adrian, but ultimately doesn't do it. When Adrian awakes, he jokes about freaking out about not being in the raft. So they're both kind of having these like flashback moments of being like, where am I? Like, what's going on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They discuss what
so disorienting. Like, it's going to take you a while to not think you're going to wake up on the island or.
They kind of discuss what the next steps are and how to go home, but Dylan admits he's not really sure. He remembers them talking about the police coming to take their statements, but not sure exactly what's going to happen. These are two people that were stranded on an island for years who have nothing. They have no identification.
Yes, I didn't think about that at first either. I was like, what do you mean? Your parents don't know that you've been like rescued yet? And then I'm like, oh, right, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, they have no idea. They just found these poor random people in the middle of the
castaway.
Exactly, castaway. I kept thinking of that for sure in this. Adrian asks how they got off the island because he doesn't remember anything after he passed out from the fever and the pain while they were still on the island. This statement crushes Dylan because he realizes that Adrian doesn't remember them telling each other that they loved each other.
I have 2 quotes highlighted for this part.
Yes, please go.
Dylan was pissing me off. Adrian, how did we get off the island? He asked next. I have a huge chunk of time missing. 2 short sentences that make my insides shatter. He doesn't remember, which means he doesn't remember me telling him I loved him or him telling me he loved me too. He doesn't know. Dylan. I was like,
just
God, Dylan
because
is
he
so
doesn't
dramatic.
remember. And just because he doesn't remember himself saying it doesn't mean he doesn't feel those things, right? Like, just because you don't remember saying it. God, okay.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And then next, like just a couple, he goes, he said he loved me too, but he was delirious with fever and had just gone through a hatchet job of an amputation. So for all I know, he wasn't even aware it was me he was talking to. And my note for that was, first of all, he 100% loves you. And even if he's not in love with you, also he's in love with you.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Get it together.
Oh my God. Just like,
yes.
Pity party.
Yes. So at this point, Dylan starts to relay his somewhat stupid plan to go out and try to find the light that he saw, and that they got lucky that there was a research boat that they literally bumped into onto the raft. He never shot the flare. He did not know that they were close enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
Adrian then kind of points out, he's like, Dylan, you saved our lives. And Dylan just still feels that they were lucky, that he had nothing to do with it, yes, they were extremely lucky that ship passed by. And it even talks about that it was actually a wayward research boat that had to sail around like a storm, and so they were not even really supposed to be in the area that they were when
Right. It was just an off chance.
It was
that they were there.
So then Adrian starts talking about going home, and Dylan starts feeling super guilty. He is not ready to face the music with everything that happened on the island and everything that he stole. Everything that he's so wrapped up in this. He has to be the martyr for this instead of just realizing that it takes two to tango. And that's so annoying. Okay.
It really is.
They agree that they need to get a phone, which they get from like a nurse or a doctor or someone at the hospital. And Adrian calls his house first. His mom answers and she doesn't believe it's him. It sounds like they have received some prank calls because she says, "Please not again," when he tells her it's Adrian, which
people are so out of pocket.
Yes, that is just
like what?
Horrible. How could you do that to somebody? That God.
Yeah.
He switches over to a FaceTime call and she is understandably shocked and goes to get Eric, Adrian's dad. Adrian is so happy to see them and they recount their entire story over the phone between the plane crash, the island, the research boat finding them, and Adrian's parents say that they're going to start doing whatever they need to do to get them home. So they realize like, hey, we don't have money.
I can't even imagine.
We don't have health insurance. We're in this hospital. We have no phones. We have no form of identification, but we need to get back. I think that this is in New Zealand, Fiji. It's somewhere like with a larger hospital setting. Like it is not Fiji. It is like a larger place.
I can't remember where they are.
Yeah.
But I know that his dad like calls the embassy or gets in touch with them. And
yes.
Does all of that. Then they call Nina.
Oh my gosh, yes. And Nina is like, what?
Like, thank God she's a lawyer.
Yes.
And that she handles some stuff.
And Dylan makes a comment in this scene too that he is very happy that his Aunt Nina is kind of cold and detached because she kind of just gets stuff done. Like she starts going through, like she's shocked, but then she's like, okay, what do we need to do to get you home? Like the first time that she has ever really done anything positively for Dylan in maybe his whole life. So,
and she tells him, he says she needs to make up for the embarrassing display of emotion where she told me she was glad I was alive.
Oh, I love that. That's perfect. That's perfect. So they have to fly back to the States, which I can't imagine getting on an airplane. But Dylan kind of admits that, well, lightning can't strike twice, and we are not in some tiny little, dingy airplane. We're on a commercial flight. We're going to be, we hopefully will be just fine. Yeah. So at this point, Dylan also is aware that Adrian has called Freya, but he left the room. He has no idea what they talked about to each other. He didn't ask Adrian about it. He does not want to know.
He's like, I'm too much of a coward. He just avoids. He avoids situations so hard.
Yes.
That's his only coping mechanism.
He pretends it doesn't exist. Basically. The process to actually get home was pretty difficult and it took weeks, but they're finally on their way. Dylan talks about how many sounds are strange to him now. So just being around people and the noise, and he's kind of worried about what's going to happen when they get back to the real world. And he's really having a hard time adjusting. Adrian, though, seems to be kind of okay with it. He's smiling. He's happy. He's kind of taking everything in stride. So Dylan, I think, is feeling a little left out or he's kind of confused at how comfortable and confident Adrian is with how things are going or getting back into the normal swing of things. Adrian sits down next to him and gives him a burger. This is a nod back to one of their very first conversations on the island about what they would eat first when they got back. Dylan watches Adrian attempt to unwrap his burger with all of his bandages and his lack of fingers. And instead of just being happy that they're alive and they're getting to eat a burger, again, Dylan feels guilty that he had to cut Adrian's fingers off. You saved his life, though.
Right.
So stop.
Right.
So just stop.
Like you had no other option.
Yes. They take a bite of their burgers at the same time and they groan with happiness. The news of their survival has sparked a lot of media attention, so they're somewhat morbidly joke about the chances of crashing again. So Dylan's thinking it before they take off, and then Adrian they bring it up again and they joke about the likelihood of that happening again. They are kind of kept away from reporters. They're in a private area of the airport before they fly out. Adrian is trying to connect back like they did on the island, and Dylan is afraid that this will be the last time that he gets to touch him this way. So they're comforting each other, they're kind of snuggling. After he's done, they start talking about how weird it's going to be back, but Adrian keeps using the words like we in our life, and Dylan is trying to snap himself out of fantasizing about them really being together when they get back because he doesn't think it's possible. The flight back, they make it without any real incident. But when they get to the airport, it's an absolute circus. So many people and reporters are there waiting for them that Dylan starts to have a panic attack. Adrian notices, though, and comes back to help him calm down. And he blocks him from reporters. He's clocking his love is not loving this situation. Yeah. Soon, though, Adrian's family is there, and then they're all hugging both of them. So Adrian is calming Dylan down from the panic attack, and Adrian's whole family just kind of ambushes them and hugs them. Now Freya gets there. Adrian and her run at each other and give each other this massive hug. I'm imagining her like jumping into his arms.
Yeah, 100%.
Dylan's heart breaks. He wants to go over and tell the whole world that he's mine, but I can't do that. He's not mine. He's never really been.
Right. And it's like he only has eyes for her. Like she's the only one that exists for him, that she is in her rightful place, reclaiming what was always hers. But I'm also like, they are just seeing each other for the very first time. Like, can you let him look at her for 2 seconds?
Just like, it's okay. Like, they haven't seen each other. Just let them, see each other for a minute. Goodness sakes. Now we're kind of switching to Adrian's point of view, and he's hugging Freya, and he feels like he's 17 again, but thinks about Dylan and how Dylan is his. So he's getting some conflicting emotions right now. He seems to finally have some sense of how difficult it's going to be to navigate this relationship between himself and Freya, and then also, again, between him and Dylan. He gives a statement to the reporters, and Adrian is of the opinion that he needs to just fake it till he makes it. He keeps smiling and talking through everything and just saying how grateful they are to be alive. And once they're finished, they're just ready to head home. So we get some insight in. Dylan thinks that Adrian is coping really well because he seems happy, because he's like being a little bit more talkative and personable with the people that they're encountering. But really, Adrian is feeling the same things Dylan is on the outside. He's just much better at masking what's going on.
I was going to say that.
Yes. So as they're heading out, Adrian asks Dylan if he's going home with him, which confuses Dylan, which, for the love of Pete, Adrian wants you to go with him. I don't know how many other ways he has to say it, but he does.
And I'm also how can you you've been only together for the last 3 years. You're just getting back. Why? I wouldn't expect people to be separated.
No, I wouldn't either. I would assume that there's still some processing
to be together.
Yes. Yeah. They need to start slowly with kind of distancing themselves from each other.
And they need to go to therapy immediately. Dylan's needed therapy since he was like 5, but...
Well, yes, even more so now. But Dylan tells Adrian that he's going with his aunt. And Adrian, although he doesn't like this because it makes him feel untethered to not have Dylan coming with him, he kind of accepts the fact that Dylan probably wants to see his aunt and be around his family as well. So he gets it. He doesn't like it, but he's being pretty understanding with that. This is also the point where Adrian kind of starts getting to find out all of the things that his siblings and family have been up to while he's been away. And that's a little disorienting for him because they've grown up. So many things have changed since he's been gone. Freya sits next to him on the way back to his parents' house, but he doesn't really know how to react to her trying to hold his hand. And he can admit it feels strange because it's not Dylan. He knows that he's going to have to tell Freya the truth, but he doesn't want to hurt her. But it's not fair to keep her in the dark about this. I do have to say that I was proud of him for coming to this realization pretty quickly after coming back. Like he needs to tell her everything. And I think that his acknowledgement of that needing to happen very soon is really important.
Yeah. Adrian has always seemed more of an open book.
He's very confused about his life because he's always been really straightforward and he feels like he's always known what he's wanted, but he's very confused because he doesn't actually know what he wants anymore. He pulls up to his house and he notices that although some things have been updated, a lot of things about his house has remained the same. When he looks next door, he notices a motorcycle in the driveway of Nina's house, and he asks when she got a motorcycle. This makes Freya laugh and say, oh, they moved a while back and they now live in downtown Boston. This really stresses Adrian out because he realizes that when Dylan said he was going home with his Aunt Nina, that doesn't mean that he was going home to be right next door to him. She actually lives somewhere else now.
Yeah.
So he wants to know the address. Yeah,
Dylan is an ass.
Which, like
he knew.
Dylan might not have known that his aunt had moved, but I'm sure that came up in some point of discussion, right? Since he's been talking to her. Adrian asks what the address is because he wants to go see Dylan. This kind of confuses Freya and everyone else, but like you said, how can you not anticipate these people still wanting to be around each other and connected through trying to navigate being back in this experience? Yeah.
That was a little interesting to me.
Yeah. So they get back to the house, and the rest of his family who did not greet him at the airport are there. And he comments at just how strange it feels being back in his own home. He barely recognizes any of his siblings. I mean, he was the third oldest of 8 kids. So some of his youngest siblings have really matured and aged in the 3 years that they have been gone. He feels like he's an outsider within his own family. But he tries to just reassure himself that things are just new and it's going to get better. But he's having really hard time being his normal self, and Freya asks him if he's okay. He admits to her that it's a lot to process, and she gives him the space to step away if he needs it. She offers to take him for a drive, and in this little exchange, she said, "What are fiancés for?" And she still definitely is of the opinion that they are still on the same track that they were before everything happened, and they have not even talked about it. So,
which is also crazy to me.
I know, kind of an interesting, little interjection.
Freya, have you not watched Castaway there or seen any piece of media that deals with people that have gone through an extremely traumatic situation?
Yeah, we're just going right back into it, right? And although he rationally understands that that's what they were to each other, he wasn't really aware that that's still where things were going to be going because they, again, haven't had this conversation. Yeah. It really stresses him out to know that this is where at least her head is at in their current relationship. Mm-hmm. Freya gives him some keys, and they go outside, and he sees a familiar Mustang parked in the driveway. This is not brought up previously in the book, but we know that he was a mechanic and worked at a garage, and he had a 1968 Shelby Mustang that he had purchased on a whim years before. He loved the car, and it was going to be kind of a project car for him. He was going to, get it back in good running condition and kind of fix it up. And Freya said that she had worked on it and fixed it up in his absence in order to help her stay close to him and feel connected to him. He wants to drive the car and asks her where they should go. She laughs and shrugs and said, "How about the beach?" Like, what a stupid fucking thing to say. Are you for real, girl? She said that, and I was like, I would have punched her. I've been on a beach for 3 years, honey. I do not need to go to the beach. I can't believe she said that.
Yeah. A little out of touch.
Yeah. This just reminds Adrian of Dylan and how much he misses him. And she feels pretty bad about making that comment because it was super insensitive. Mm-hmm. But Adrian starts to drive aimlessly, and not long after, he pulls over at a rest stop. They reminisce about how it feels like before when they used to just take a drive and sit and talk. And Freya comments about the fact that Adrian still hasn't shaved off his beard from the island. And Adrian admits to himself that he kept it because Dylan likes the beard. So he's just still thinking it's all about Dylan still. So why he can't even recognize
they should not have been separated.
They should not have. No.
I was also like, can they just be in a polyamorous relationship? Why are we fighting this? I think it would be fine.
It would be fine. Why choose? And it's just Adrian is the focal point instead of...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It would make sense, but I also think that Dylan is way too possessive. Like, he could not handle that extra person dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan would be spiraling constantly, but I feel like it would solve a lot of problems.
It would. And, and he admits that he likes Freya. It's not that he doesn't like her. It's just...
Right, exactly.
She's got Adrian, so he doesn't like her because of that. Freya gives him a hug.
I just like from Parks and Rec where April, she's like, "This is my boyfriend, Derek. Derek is gay, but he's straight for me, and he's gay for Ben. Ben's really gay for Derek, and I hate Ben."
This is my boyfriend, Derek, and this is Derek's boyfriend, Ben.
Yeah. Freya's like, "I hate Dylan."
Yeah. So they hug each other. And this is, I think they obviously hugged each other when they first saw each other at the airport, but this is kind of maybe their own first like private hug that they've had since they've been back. And Adrian describes it as being transported back in time to what it was like to be with her before. And he missed her. He misses the way that they were together because he felt like he knew who he was. And now he has no idea who he is anymore. So much has changed from being on the island. Freya asks him to tell her everything about what happened. And his simple response to that is Dylan. That's all he says. What happened while you were on the island? And he says Dylan. She wants him to kind of explain further, and he admits that he has feelings for Dylan. Freya takes some time to come to understand exactly what he means by that, and once she figures it out, she exits the car and starts pacing. Adrian feels terrible because he knows that he loves Freya, but he also knows that he loves Dylan too. He describes his soul fitting with Freya's, but that it also fits with Dylan. In this scene, while he's describing his soul fitting with each of them individually, he says, though, that his soul is in sync with Dylan's, meaning that I think that
in perfect harmony.
Yes, in perfect harmony, which is different from Freya. She asks him about her and Adrian and kind of what their future holds, and he feels helpless. And he said, I've loved you. I fell in love with you from the moment I met you. He doesn't want to hurt her, but he feels like he has to tell her the truth. She asks him if he still loves her, and he says, of course I do. But she can tell that he also loves Dylan, and she's very upset by this. And Adrian tries to push her to talk a little bit more about what she's feeling in the moment. But I understand her perspective on this. And she's like, listen, you just got back. You just told me that you are in love with your best friend that you've been on this island with for 3 years.
He did not say that.
No, he didn't say. I'm so sorry. She can tell, I think, that
because
he
no
feels
one
that
fucking
way.
says, I'm in love with Dylan. It's always, I love Dylan. I love Dylan. And I'm always like, how? Okay,
Yeah.
you need to specify that because he's your best friend and you've said that before. It's so
Because
weird. That was
loving
weird to me,
and being
that people don't say I'm in love with him.
Right. Because it is different.
Like, I need clarification.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
She asks
is
him.
just weird.
Yeah. She asks him if he's breaking up with her, and he doesn't know how to answer her, which should have been his first, like, real clue in this kind of identity crisis that he's having, that she's not it. And he really doesn't know what to do because he wants both of them at this point, but he also doesn't feel like that's fair to either of them.
Polyamorous relationship.
See, you got it all figured out.
I'm telling you.
She asks him to give her some time to think, and Adrian feels untethered because this is unresolved. He doesn't like that. He kind of wants things to... I can understand his side of this. He wants things to go back to being the way that they were before, but also like is encountering these new feelings and issues with that going back to the things they were before because too much has changed.
Right.
They drive home and Freya gives him the keys to the car. She says it's yours, and that she was just borrowing it. But for the time being, he tells her to keep it for now because she did all the work on it. And I think he feels kind of bad about the bomb he just dropped on her.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's your consolation prize.
Yes. You're welcome.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Dylan is at Aunt Nina's apartment in her guest room. Of course, he's sleeping on the floor because the bed's too soft. Classic. Post-survival mode.
Yeah, the bed is too soft. That's crazy. Yeah.
But he's woken up by the door buzzer going off. It's Adrian. He's found out where he is. Aunt Nina's reluctant, but she does let him up eventually. And seeing Adrian again is the first time that Dylan feels relaxed since they separated at the airport. So they go to Dylan's room, lay on the floor together like they used to lay on the island together. Adrian tells Dylan that he told Freya everything that happened on the island. Very conflicted, obviously. And he says Freya needs time to think. Dylan feels guilty. Wow, I'm shocked.
Yes.
He's blaming himself for this whole situation. Once again, you owed nothing to Freya. I'm like,
nothing.
And he's just blaming himself for this whole situation. He thinks if it wasn't for him and if he'd never kissed Adrian, then Adrian could just be happy right now to be reunited with his fiance. Up for debate. Also, Adrian licked your stomach.
Yeah, he started it. He started the whole thing. I mean, he was the instigator. Yeah, on pretty much everything.
And I don't necessarily think that it wouldn't have happened, just on a different timeline.
Yes, I agree. Maybe when they would have got to the resort, like if they would have, like,
oh yeah,
we don't know, like because in the
Yeah.
very beginning, Dylan talks about like this being his like last chance to be one-on-one with Adrian. Would he have found the guts to just finally tell him? I mean, he still hasn't told him yet after
No, I
everything
don't
that's
think he
happened,
would
so
have
maybe
told
he wouldn't
him.
have.
No, but I think that even on the island, they hadn't. If Dylan hadn't kissed him first, I think in the next year and a half, something still would have happened.
Yes. Yeah.
And Dylan's thinking to himself about, I will lose him. I will lose everything and everyone. I stole something that was never mine to begin with. And when everybody finds out, I will lose everyone. Once again.
So
What?
dramatic. Yeah.
So dramatic. And I'm like, therapy yourself. Again, if I heard this story, my anger would be with the person that was in a committed relationship that cheated.
Right.
If I was going to be mad at anyone, but I would also be like, you were in a very weird situation and I'm not holding anything against you guys.
Yeah. I mean, well, they didn't even know if they were going to survive. So I feel like it would be...
It's just, everything's valid.
Yes. Everyone's valid in their feelings on this. Every single except for Dylan. Dylan needs to get over this freaking paranoia about losing everybody.
Yeah,
but Freya feeling that she needs to kind of come to terms with it, valid. I thought that Adrian literally telling her the day that he got back was very brave of him to just come right out with it.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
He could have. Yep.
Yeah. I could
but
also
he was
see
also
too,
floored that she still called
emotions are still so removed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's basically a stranger to him at this point.
And he's not been thinking about her. He's admitted it.
Right.
He stopped thinking about her for the last...
So it's maybe easier to just say it right away than spend more time and let feelings resurface or anything. But anyway, Dylan's having his internal conflict and he does end up saying I love you to Adrian though. And of course spirals after that too. And which is such a not a big deal to say. I say I love you to people all the time. And again, you're just saying I love you. It's not like, Adrian, I'm desperately in love with you. It's just, I love you.
I love you.
But then Adrian's like, so I wasn't imagining it. He fever dream remembers Dylan saying it on the raft, but he thought it was just a dream. And then Adrian tells Dylan that he loves him too. Adrian also feels very conflicted. He's not sure how he feels about Freya anymore. And Adrian just doesn't know what to do. Obviously, Dylan wants Adrian to pick him, but he wants Adrian to make that choice all on his own. So he suggests that they give each other space and Adrian take time to really get back into the real world, decide what he wants. There's also one point where Dylan says that he was never Adrian's first choice. But I also think that's a little unfair because Adrian never realized Dylan was even an option like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that whole sentence, that Dylan's thought process on that, again, this goes back to like, you are getting really upset and almost punishing Adrian or trying to do things to punish him, because in the very beginning of the book, when they were still just teenagers and even Dylan's first encounter with a boy, he like tries to throw it in Adrian's face. So it's this recurring theme of like, I'm not going to tell you how I really feel, but I am going to get overly jealous.
Hold it against you.
And hold it against you. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just Dylan just wallowing in self-pity and doing a fuck all to fix anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they spend the night together. They just sleep together and then they separate. They don't want to, but they go their separate ways. Adrian goes back to his parents' house and he's thinking the only way he feels calm these days is when he's in Dylan's arms. And again, it's just the trauma too.
Yes.
That's hard to suss out. It's the only place where he feels like he belongs. He thinks he'll always love Freya, but that love has changed because he has changed 100%. You are not the same person at all.
I mean, think about just how much you change, like in your early 20s compared to, so I'm thinking, like, let's just even look, they were 22 when this happened, and they're 25 when they're found. So let's just think about it in that context. Think about how much you grow as a person between 22 and 25. Then let's add in this like very isolating experience with somebody. Yeah. Like, of course, you are going to be a totally different person than you were before.
I'm just thinking too about even smaller. Like, think about who you were before you had a baby and immediately after you gave birth. That's such a traumatic experience and you are different.
You are so different.
You know what I mean? And like they crash landed on an island and lived there for 3 years.
Yes. So, and nobody's going to understand that shared experience but each other.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, as soon as he gets home, Adrian runs into his brother Will and his sister Harriet. They both know he was with Dylan, but what they don't understand is why he wasn't with Freya. And so they sit together and Adrian tells them everything that happened on the island between him and Dylan. He also tells them that he loves Dylan. like loves him. But
Loves
his
him,
brother
yes.
has to clarify that because Adrian just says, I love Dylan, which,
Mhm.
duh, of course you do. He's your best friend. So I'm like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you say, I'm in love with Dylan? I fell in love with Dylan. I'm just like, what is going
I think Adrian,
on?
like in his own head, has gotten past the fact that he doesn't platonically love Dylan, but I don't even know if yet at this point he's ready to admit to himself that he was in,
there's a moment later where he actually says it, and I marked it because I was like, that's the first time anybody said, I'm in love with
Yes.
Dylan. He also tells his siblings that he thinks he's bi, which is the first time he's ever said that out loud. And Freya texts Adrian. A couple days later, he goes to see her at their old apartment. That's a hard thing for Adrian, having some cognitive dissonance in the apartment, seeing the things that are the same, but what's different, and all the memories that are there.
Could you live in an okay, if you were dating someone, they
should Freya have
presumably
moved?
died. Yeah. Why are you still in that apartment?
Well, just wait. Freya was hanging on tight.
Yeah.
And which I get, good for her because that paid off. Well, sort of. He came back. Freya tells Adrian that she talked to her therapist about the whole situation. And I was like, good for you. Adrian is surprised that she has a therapist. She's like, duh, you went missing. Thank you, Freya, for being the only normal person. Everybody in this fucking book should have a therapist.
Especially Dylan.
100%. Yeah.
Good for Freya for having someone to talk to about this. Yeah.
Yes. Freya tells Adrian she always knew he would come back to her. So that sort of makes the non-moving apartment make sense. And she just could feel that he wasn't dead. Quote, I just thought that a love like ours I would feel it if you were gone. End quote. And then she tells Adrian that she needs to know exactly what happened, the whole story. So Adrian tells her everything that happened. He does keep some of him and Dylan's most private moments to himself, though.
Good.
I don't know yeah.
I mean,
it's not like you're going to divulge you don't really have to delve into the being like, well,
you don't need a play-by-play.
Right. I don't even think that needs to happen. You just be like,
no.
We started hooking up.
Yeah, it happened. It happened and it happened frequently. Can we not go into any more detail about
right.
it?
That's just salt in the wound.
Yes.
So after he's finished, Freya tells Adrian that she's glad he had Dylan. And then she says that her therapist told Freya that people who go through a traumatic experience together can form a bond, and shared trauma can bring people together. Duh. So she thinks that everything that Adrian's feeling regarding Dylan is heightened and more intense because of what they went through together. She's trying to I agree, but I also feel like she was coming. I was having a hard time. I agree with Freya, and I could relate to where she was coming from. You've been waiting. Adrian is it. You are in love with him.
Yeah.
And you want him for yourself. She's trying. I just feel like she's really trying to push.
Or she's like, I'm trying to find any explanation possible for your actions and still get what I want out of it. Like, it's almost like she was trying to explain to him what he was feeling and why he was feeling it. Mm-hmm.
Now you can be normal again.
Yeah.
And Adrian doesn't say anything, but he doesn't agree with her.
Yeah.
I don't agree with her either.
Yeah.
He thinks it feels real. It's not just an exaggeration because of the trauma. And Adrian tells Freya that he loves Dylan. Again, he does not say, I'm in love with Dylan. He just says, I love Dylan. Freya asks how Dylan feels. And Adrian's like, I bet he's really scared. And Freya goes, I never thought of loving you as scary. And I'm like, yeah, duh, bitch. You're in a heteronormative relationship.
Of course. Yeah. And their friendship was like from when they were children. So that is like a difficult transition for someone who did not feel that way.
I just felt that was another jab from her being like, well, that's really weird. I never felt that way. Adrian, you should pick me.
Yeah, it's been so easy. My loving you is just the easiest thing ever. And it should be for you too.
Okay. So Freya thinks that she and Dylan are asking Adrian to do the same thing, which they kind of are. They want him to pick.
Mm-hmm.
But Freya does sort of want to cheat and get him to pick her. Yeah, which is decide what he wants. And Adrian's just worried that he's going to hurt them both. Then Freya has this really long speech that I highlighted. Oh, yeah. She's like, I don't think you understand. I love you. I have missed you for all these years and waited and hoped with everything I have in me for you to come back to me. And I got my miracle. I got you back. She squeezes my hand. I'm not giving up on us. All these years, what kept me going was the thought of us. I want our life back, and I'm not going to stand aside and quietly disappear when I know what we have is real. You're the love of my life. It never changed for me, and if circumstances made you forget, I can remind you what our life together was like. She slides her palm over my cheek and cups it. Perfect. And I was like, damn.
Yeah. Who,
Fuck.
like, because I do feel for her. Like, I can empathize with
Yeah.
her, but you're
Mhm.
reading it as the reader and you're just kind of like that whole thing that she did, it gave me the ick a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to your therapist, did your therapist tell you to maybe like pump the brakes a little bit and like maybe
Give him
let
some
him have,
time.
yeah, to just kind of come to terms with things before you love bomb him a little bit? Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
feel like the first time I read it, it did annoy me too. And I mean, I was more
Hmm.
in Dylan's camp. Obviously, we're on Dylan's side. We want
Yes. Yeah.
them to end up together. And then, but when I reread it, I was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense from her point of view.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Why wouldn't she? We were going to get married. Hello, you're
Mhm.
back.
You were going on your bachelor trip with your best
Yeah.
friend. Like that was
Right.
the next step. So it's understandable for her to be like, no, this is the next step. This is what we're supposed to be doing next. So why are we
Right.
not on the same page? Yeah.
Right. And then Adrian is like, I love her. I know I love her. I know I love her. But all I feel is Dylan's absence. And once again, I will just plug polyamory. I think that would be a really good solution for these people. So it is now July. Dylan is in a deep depression. I can't really overstate how depressed Dylan is right now. He is so sad. Nina's a lawyer, so she's working on getting a settlement from the charter company. Dylan's been in a new apartment for the last 10 days. No one knows where he lives except for Preston and Nina because it's one of Preston's like rental properties.
Mm-hmm.
He's keeping a super low profile because of all the reporters that are still all over the place. So they don't realize he lives in this new place yet. He's still having a lot of trouble being around too many people, loud noises. And he's surprised one day when he comes home, though, and Harriet is waiting outside of his apartment door. We don't know how she found out where he lived, but she did.
No.
And it's a good thing. She tells Dylan that Adrian told her about the island. And Dylan's first thought is, oh my God, everybody knows. And he starts spiraling. I have a quote again. He goes, well, yeah, fuck, why not? What was I thinking anyway? That I would lose Adrian, but somehow still be able to keep everybody else? That I could still go to birthday parties and family dinners and movie nights and weddings and just pretend everything is business as usual? That was never going to happen. Dylan, I swear to fucking God.
I mean, so this is like part of me. I do understand where he's coming from. I think that because he has never reconciled that he is part of their family. So to him, I think this feels like a breakup, like like a romantic or a friendship breakup where maybe you don't feel like you're allowed to still be part of that other person's extended life. So
Yeah.
while I do get that part, Harriet's like in this scene, she's like, dude, just chill out. Like, we want to see you too. Like he cannot connect the dots.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I'm also like, you don't know anything. She just said we know about the island.
Yeah.
Not that. And Adrian's choosing Freya. And now you're out of it. He just completely goes to this like very dark place. And he's already in a dark place. But he starts to spiral. And yeah, Harriet's like, oh my God, chill out. No, just Will and I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes on the panic attack. Dylan tries to play his pity party card where he's like, I slept with him and he was engaged. Everyone's going to hate me. And Harriet, thank God, is like, there were two of you there. He also made that decision. She basically is like, you got to get over yourself. And you're hurting my mom and dad who love you and miss you very much. You're part of the family and you're being selfish. And Dylan's like, what?
What?
I'm being selfish?
Trying to protect everybody.
Yeah. So this helps
Whatever.
Dylan realize that he's so afraid of people leaving him that he's like preemptively cutting everyone off. And so he goes to Friday family dinner that is a regularly scheduled thing, and Adrian's not supposed to be there, so he shows up. Everyone's really happy to see him. I think this is the first time he's been back, so it's like nostalgia town, and it's really comforting for him, but he's still hiding how messed up he is inside, and that is his number one priority, is like not letting anyone know that he is extremely fucked up. Adrian's mom starts to cry when she sees him. I don't think he's been like hiding from her. Like, how horrible for her. That's another one of her children, basically, that she doesn't get to see and rejoice in the fact that he's still actually alive earlier than now. And Dylan's just thinking that he doesn't deserve any of them. I just don't, but I want them anyway. What? Why? Why don't you deserve them? Why? I want this information from Briar Prescott to be inserted in the book for me to understand where the fuck Dylan is coming from, because
There needed to be like, it could have been one paragraph of Dylan's internal thoughts as to why he does not deserve, like, besides just this overt, repetitive, he's feeling guilty. It needed,
or like Preston, one day Preston, like berating him or being like, you're not part of this family and you never will be, or like something that
or you
he
don't belong
internalized.
Anywhere, or something like that.
Like I'm like, where was that? Why?
Yeah.
Whatever. So dinner is over. Dylan's leaving and hugs Adrian's mom goodbye. And again, I try not to think too much about what will happen when they all find out about me and Adrian. I can't even begin to guess. Freya is like a daughter to them. I choose not to think about it as cowardly as it is. And you're like a son to them?
Exactly.
What is your point?
You have dibs a little bit.
Yes.
Oh
my God. Driving me crazy, man. So as Dylan's starting to walk home, Adrian shows up, chases him down the street. Adrian's finally taken the bandages off his hand wound where his fingers were amputated. So, of course, Dylan's feeling guilty about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Adrian asks Dylan how he's doing. Dylan thinks of all of his horrific PTSD symptoms. Does he share that? No. Dylan also can't even stand the thought of Adrian and Freya together. If Adrian's not around, he doesn't want to know where he is. He won't ask. And he makes the mistake of asking Adrian how his night was. And then he immediately is like, no, don't tell me. He just can't even hear that information at all. And so Adrian convinces Dylan to come with him up to the treehouse to show him their treasure box from, it has all these little sentimental things they've collected over the years growing up. And the main thing he wanted to show him was their blood pact from when they were 12. And which says, Dylan Emerson Lang and Adrian Elias Olson promise to be best friends and have each other's backs. So they have this sweet little intimate moment.
Little reflection, trying to, feel like things maybe back to before the island and before, and even before Freya, just best friends being best friends with each other. Because I think they needed to kind of reconnect on that level in this moment.
Yeah.
They were both struggling with being alone and apart from each other. And because even before the island happened, I mean, Dylan grew up next door to him. So they did used to see each other every day. So they went from seeing each other every day, even as friends, to then going to the island. And now they live apart from each other. Like, that has got to be so jarring, I feel like, for both of them to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they reminisce about things they did while they were kids. They talk about how they know each other better than anyone. They have some charged moments. I don't know. They kiss, but Adrian at least kisses his face somewhere. I don't know if they like make out, but
right, like on the cheek or on the forehead or something,
or like on his like eyebrow or something because he bumped his head. And Adrian tells Dylan that he wouldn't erase a single moment with Dylan ever. They're Adrian's moments. They're his. He's so possessive of Dylan.
Possessive.
Yeah, they fall asleep in the treehouse. They wake up the next morning. Dylan's late to pick up Indy from the airport, so Adrian ends up giving him a ride because he's not going to get there without help. Adrian is jelly pants. I was loving this. Dylan's confused about why Indy wants to visit. Like let's see. Yeah, he's like, Indy, he's coming to visit. He says this with a slight air of confusion. Like, it's strange that people love him and would want to see him. It's a thing Dylan used to do a lot. For a long time after we first met, he seemed unable to really, truly believe he's loved. It got better with time. It seems we've reverted back to skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Nina was a really cold person.
I don't think that Dylan ever got better with time, so I don't really know why Adrian said that. I'm like, he's still pretty difficult to accept love from others, so I don't know where that is coming from, but sure.
Yeah. So, but he's like, of course he wants to visit you. He's your friend, and you just came back from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian's also really worried that Dylan will go back to San Francisco with Indy, and he's super jealous, like that he's going to stay at his house, whatever. They're waiting at the airport, and Adrian's probing, trying to figure out, where Indy's staying and if he'll be sleeping with Dylan. It's just so jealous. Then Indy shows up and Adrian's like, oh no, he's hot.
I loved this. It made me laugh. It brought some levity.
Love it. Yes. I was like, oh my God, yay.
Yeah. Oh, we've got some jealousy, some like better angsty from just like the depression. Like this was a little bit of levity. This needed to happen at this point in the book because it was pretty dark and heavy and kind of difficult.
Like angst from Adrian was giving me life. Angst from Dylan, I'm like, shut the fuck up, Dylan.
Oh my God, stop whining. God.
Yeah. And Dylan's also really comfortable around Indy. That bothers Adrian. It's one of those he's thinking, I couldn't give whatever Dylan's feeling right now, like to Dylan, I couldn't even begin to try. I'm a lot of the reason it's there in the first place. Like Adrian's feeling bad about Dylan being so upset.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was loving. And Dylan's smiling. He's actually smiling, his real smile at Indy, and Adrian's jealous that that smile is not for
Mm-hmm.
Adrian. And he's just so painfully jealous. And then he starts acting so embarrassing, so cringy and embarrassing. It was so funny. I loved it so much. Oh my gosh. And then, when Adrian and Indy meet, Indy says, the famous Adrian.
Because Indy knows that Dylan was hopelessly in love with him before.
They had that whole interaction before the airport when they went to the bachelor party. And then there's this whole shotgun thing was confusing to me.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Dylan starts to open the back door. Adrian pushes in between. Were they both going to sit in the back seat?
I
was like, what is happening? But anyway, Adrian gets Indy to sit in the front seat. Adrian drives him, and he's just being cringy and weird and asking him questions and like being angry, jealous. So they drive home. Yeah. And he's being like openly hostile.
Yes.
So Adrian drops them both off, and Adrian asks Dylan if he's coming to Daisy's play on Friday, which is another sibling. Dylan says yes, but he refuses to ride with Adrian, saying he thinks it's better if they don't go together. And I was like, no.
Because Dylan and Freya have both kind of given Adrian this ultimatum at this point. And Dylan, okay, so we talked about Freya kind of taking advantage of that and trying to convince Adrian to pick her almost. And Dylan is doing the exact opposite. Being like, no.
He's like, don't you want to pick Freya? I know you want to pick Freya.
Well, and also like, I think that he's still going to feel like Adrian is actually not picking him because Adrian wants to pick him, but because he doesn't want to hurt Dylan. I really think that Dylan still does not believe that the feelings that Adrian has for him are beyond the platonic level. He really still does not feel that way, that it's gotten past that point for Adrian.
Yeah. And I was also like, this should be your first clue. Why isn't Adrian driving Freya?
Yeah.
Where's she going to be? All right. So Dylan purposely shows up to the park like for the play late so that he can avoid sitting by Adrian. But as a result of being late, the only seat left is the one right next to Adrian that they've saved for him.
Adrian's like, no, I'm saving this for Dylan for when he gets here. That was how I thought that moment played out for real. Like Adrian's like, nope, you guys, I want Dylan to sit next to me.
And everybody was probably like, well, we'll let Dylan sit next to you, Adrian, duh. So when it's over, Dylan tries to escape, but Adrian corners him, gives him a ride home. Although he does pull over and parks like they're going to have a conversation. And Adrian's like, there's never been secrets between us. And Dylan thinks, yeah, there's always been a huge secret between us. No, I'm in love with you. I'll never tell you. It's honestly very annoying. It's just,
like you said,
just lay it out on the table. Like, what do you have to lose at this point? If you're so sad, if you're so convinced, just put it all out there.
What do you have left to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And like, if you're so convinced he's not going to pick you and your heart's going to be broken, it's just like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, man. Ultimately, Dylan's just terrified of Adrian leaving him. So I just think he's like trying to do anything, I guess, that he can stop in his warped brain, like that from happening. It's like, if I never say anything or confess or do, like, Adrian will still at least be in my life. No matter how removed you need to be to get on with your life. And so Adrian finally wears him down, though, being like, tell me what's wrong, tell me what's wrong. And Dylan does the classic, what do you want me to say? And then he spills his guts, about all of his PTSD symptoms. Adrian then takes Dylan to his apartment and he tells Dylan, he's like, ask me to stay. So Dylan tries to resist, but he cannot. And he does ask. Adrian comes up to his apartment. They have to kind of sneak in because Indy's there and they get in the shower together. Adrian washes Dylan. It's very sensual and intimate. They don't go farther than that. And then they get out and just have domestic time, brushing their teeth together, which is what Dylan's kind of always wanted. Just do everyday things with Adrian. And then they fall asleep together on the floor. Then the next morning, Dylan wakes up and he sneaks out of his room naked and sees Indy in the living room. That was also pretty funny. And Dylan's like, I got to get out of here. So he and Indy go to get some food and they talk. Like,
so
thank you again,
leave?
Indy, for being normal.
They just left Adrian at the apartment, right? Dylan sneaks out and he's like, okay, let's go get food. Forget him. So let's just let Adrian wake up by himself.
Yes.
So awkward.
Yeah, it's really funny. So Dylan just has such a warped view of what's going on. He tells Indy that he told Adrian he needs to figure out what he wants. And he says he's sabotaging it. Dylan's like, I'm sabotaging Adrian being able to make this decision. But like, Adrian is seeking you out. Adrian wants to spend time with you. I just don't understand where Dylan is coming from.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally doing nothing.
It doesn't make any sense. or his reasoning behind it. Like I said, he was sabotaging it. He's trying to and I think it's just trying to clear his conscience. Like he's like, well, I think ultimately he felt like if Adrian picks Freya, then I can feel less guilty and maybe our friendship can continue after that. Like I think that has to be the only reasoning behind his actions.
Like, how could you even want to only be friends after that? But luckily Indy's like, you need to calm down. Don't sabotage yourself. Like, yeah, Adrian needs to figure stuff out, but it doesn't mean you have to completely remove yourself from the equation. So shut up, get back home, bring him some pizza to eat. So they get back and have pizza or whatever. Then some time jumps happen. Adrian shows up the next morning with a box of cinnamon rolls, just more of the same. They want to be together. They feel guilty. They miss each other when they're apart. Nina calls Dylan and Adrian into her office to talk about the settlement the charter company is offering.
Did you think that this was kind of weird that they went to sue the charter company after? I mean, the pilot died. It wasn't like he didn't do, like, I was kind of confused on the grounds of like suing besides just it was an unfortunate. I couldn't figure out. I mean,
I don't know anything about that, but I would assume you have a case.
Yeah, you have some. You'd have to, like you said, there has to be some.
Maybe it was more about the fact that their plane, their original flight, got messed up or something, and then they had to take, I don't know,
a different, or something.
But also, I mean, I know storms can appear quickly in the ocean, but I don't know. Maybe they ignored some warning.
Right. It's never like
they were
explicit.
Like, we can probably make it, or I have no idea. I was also like, they do address this too, but I was like, man, you guys should be giving interviews, making money.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, this is a big time story.
Book deals? Are you kidding me?
Hello.
Yeah, haha. So just anytime Dylan has to see Adrian, it's this whole big ordeal for him. He's smitten. He's this little smitten kitten. There are evenings when Adrian doesn't show up, and then Dylan hates that because he knows it means Adrian's with Freya, and he cannot deal. Adrian convinces Dylan to go to therapy. There's a short scene about that, but then we never hear anything else about that or see anything about it. So I hope he really went. They get cinnamon rolls again, and then they go and sit on a bench in Harbor Walk, which I'm assuming is like a park. I thought at first it was a beach, but I think it's just a park. And
I hope they didn't go back to it.
I know. I don't think they did. And Adrian's like, let's pretend that it's just us. There's nobody else. It's just the two of us. No worries, no problems. There's nothing confusing. Dylan tries to fight it for a second, but he agrees. And so they just talk about everything and nothing. They reminisce about their childhood. Dylan thinks to himself that if he could go back, he's not sure he'd ever leave the island. And Dylan's just waiting for the other shoe to drop and for his heart to get broken. So this was sad too. Like,
it was
to be on the island again.
Yeah, to wish that you were back in isolation because you think that's the only opportunity you're going to have to be with this person that you love. That was incredibly sad.
Yeah. And so that chapter, that section I just read was from Dylan's point of view. Now we're at Adrian's. He no longer dreams about the island. Now Adrian has a new dream / nightmare in which he's living his life with Freya. It's their wedding day, but he's frantically looking for Dylan and no one knows who Dylan is. And they tell him there is no Dylan. Adrian can't stay away from Dylan, even though he thinks he needs to try and like give him and Freya like a fighting chance. He takes Freya on a date. It's nice. He's like remembering how it used to be together. They laugh, they kiss. But when he gets back to his parents' house, he can't go inside. He goes to Dylan's house instead. He just like can't stay away.
Scene reminded me very much of like, I think that there are certain times when you are in a relationship with somebody and there's some distance there sometime. You've broken up for some reason. And maybe you run into that other person again at a point in your life where you're both single again. And you almost have this moment of like, I wonder if we could reconnect. And then you find out that too much has happened. You're different people than you were when you dated. And maybe the things that attracted you to them, they're still there, but it's not this, you don't have the same feelings. And that is exactly how I really feel like Adrian felt in this moment. Like, or in these times that he is spending with Freya, he's like, there is something that should be there, but it is not. Whatever was there before between us is gone.
Right. Yeah. Or I can see definitely had those situations where you're like, this is so fun and easy. We're having fun. And then you do it, like the next day or, and they're like, it was fun for that one time.
It was fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Adrian goes to Freya's Christmas work party and he just thinks how fake he feels. The only time he can stop smiling or pretending to be happy is when he's with Dylan. That also felt heavy.
Yeah.
Freya introduces Adrian to this guy named Rowan, who obviously has a big fat crush on Freya and who tried to get her to date him while Adrian was presumed dead. So she tells Adrian about this later, apologized for Rowan. She's like, oh, he's kind of rude. I'm so sorry. And Adrian isn't concerned about this at all. He's like, ha ha ha.
He's like, no big deal. It's fine. Cool.
Yeah, he's not jealous. He's not worried about this guy, which I can also understand in a committed, loving relationship that, like Freya waited for you for 3 years.
Yeah.
You feel pretty secure in that.
She restored the car that you had built.
Right.
I mean, she kept your guys the same apartment. Like, I could see how he was not feeling threatened by
that like
guy at all.
If my husband was like, this girl hit on me, I'd be like, oh, okay, sucks for her. Right. Then Freya asks about Dylan kind of abruptly. It's the classic situation, and mentions she heard Indy was visiting. She says the famous Indy. I liked how everybody knows about each of them in their different worlds. And she can tell right away that Adrian does not like Indy. And she's disappointed in his reaction to Rowan versus his reaction to Indy. And I think Adrian's a little confused because he's a dummy. She's like, oh, Adrian, you stupid idiot.
Like, hello, I'm trying to kind of make you jealous with or just kind of testing the waters.
You're so clearly jealous of Indy and you love it. Yeah, Dylan, and she gets it. And the whole cinnamon bun thing repeats right here. And I can't tell if it's a ritual they've been doing repeatedly, like where he brings cinnamon buns, they go to the bench, they pretend there's no one else, and they have these conversations, or if we're just getting the same thing from Adrian's point of view in this repeat scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess either way it could go, but the culmination of this is that Adrian thinks the same thing that Dylan did, where if he could go back, he's not sure if he would ever leave the island. And that should be your answer right there. But this revelation brings him peace. He feels like he knows something now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then one day, Lynn, Adrian's mom, I don't know how much time has passed, calls Dylan and asks if he can pick Adrian up from physical therapy for her. So Dylan drops everything. When he gets there, though, he runs into Freya. I think she orchestrated it. I think that she does make it clear that she orchestrated it. Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah. And Lynn was in on it, too, and that pissed me
Do you think Lynn was in on it?
I do.
My thought was Freya called and was like, Lynn, I can't pick up Adrian today. And she knew Lynn was busy. Like Freya understood if she said she couldn't do it, there would be no other options and Lynn would get Dylan to do it.
See,
that's how I imagine it.
And I kind of thought that way too, but I almost thought that in a way that Freya was being tricky in the sense that she was like, I have been trying to talk to Dylan and he's avoiding me. And I just, I want to try to have a conversation with him. And because even though Lynn, none of the rest of the family knows what happened between Adrian and Dylan on the island.
Right.
So that was kind of what I thought was what she was actually doing. She was trying
Lynn might be just an innocent bystander and not realize.
I don't think Lynn did it intentionally or maliciously, but I think that Freya went to her and was like, I've been trying to get Dylan to talk to me and he won't, kind of thing, or something like that. Or I'm trying to get more information about what happened and Adrian's not, I don't feel like, I'm trying to get other side of the story, but Dylan won't talk to me or something like that. Or just, we haven't seen him and I'm trying to reconnect or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
I don't know.
Let's see. Dylan's having more of his things, his normal thoughts. The Olsens love Freya. She's one of them. What will happen once they all find out about me and Adrian? Get over yourself. It's literally so understandable. Freya, she orchestrated this. Dylan tells Freya that he didn't mean for any of this to happen. And she is like, I don't blame you and I don't hate you, but I wish I could. Because they've always had that sort of relationship. But Dylan's always wanted to hate Freya and he couldn't. She's the nicest. So then Freya is like, it's not fair. This is another quote. She says, what you're doing, how you're always there. It's not fair. How are the two of you ever going to recover from what you've been through if you won't give each other time and space to be apart? She lifts her chin a bit and squares her shoulders. I'm not saying I know what you're going through, but what you two are doing right now, it's codependent and that's not healthy for either of you. This excessive emotional reliance you have on each other isn't right and it will end up hurting you both. Freya, I was mad.
I was too. I felt like she's like going to her therapist and telling her therapist her side of the story. And then her therapist is like, well, I think this might be what's happening. And then she's just like running with it. She's like, yes, they're codependent. They're being selfish. They're not like facing what actually happened. That's so she's like
and
just
it's
taking
like,
what she wants to hear.
Right. Take that so you can deal with the situation and understand where they're coming from and have empathy for them instead of using it as a weapon. And she really, like, she's stopping any minuscule progress that Dylan
and Adrian
may have
are
been making. Yeah. And she validates his deepest, darkest fears.
Right.
Like, he's like, what's more likely, that he suddenly found himself in love with me, or that this is all just a trauma bond, and platonic love on crack, you know, and there's like, no way he will ever be able to tell the difference.
She's trying to make excuses for Adrian having these feelings versus like accepting the fact that they are real. That's yeah. She's like, so well, this is what my therapist says, so it's gotta be right.
Yeah, and so she tells Dylan that he and Adrian need time apart, and she's just saying this for Adrian's best interest. Duh. So Dylan goes back to his car and hides. Freya says she'll give Adrian a ride home, and he watches them interact in the parking lot. And it's the first time he's seen them together since the airport. And, you know, they're laughing and having fun, and Adrian reminds me of this guy I know who's just like, he's like a Matthew McConaughey in real life. You know, I can just imagine him as just being like constantly laughing and just so charismatic and nice.
Right. Yeah.
And that just gets along with everybody, but Dylan's seeing that through green-tinged glasses. Yeah. So Dylan's new mission in life is to avoid Adrian at all costs. Adrian texts him all the time. Dylan just gives him basic, short answers. Dylan goes to family dinner still, but he makes sure he's always part of the crowd. He won't make eye contact, won't talk to Adrian, and Adrian just watches him broodingly, suspiciously, and yeah.
My God, just fucking talk to each other. Sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And after 2 weeks of this, Dylan gets home one day and Adrian's waiting for him inside of his apartment. Thank you again, Indy, for being cool. Let him in. And Adrian is like, we need to talk. Where does Dylan go with this? Immediately assumes it's because Adrian has chosen Freya and he's there to inform Dylan of that decision. That's the only reason he would be here right now.
No.
Oh my God.
But if he did just have that conversation with Freya, if Freya is also trying to be therapist,
but it's been
to
2
Adrian,
weeks, right? I mean, I get, but
oh my God,
I don't know. But it's also like, okay, maybe just if you're avoiding him so hard, maybe he would just text it to you or something. Like, I don't know. Okay, whatever. Dylan makes perfect sense for Dylan. Of course, he would go there. They have some back and forth, and Dylan eventually lashes out with the classic, like, I don't need you to take care of me, make everything better for me. I never asked you to do that. And it's a low blow. Adrian's upset because he really does want to take care of Dylan. I think that's been his whole kind of life. I mean, he punched Preston back when they were kids. He's always, tried to defend him and stuff. Adrian tells Dylan this conversation isn't over, and he leaves. So Dylan's very stuck on, if the island never happened, you and Freya would be happy, while Adrian is like, it did happen. And I'm different now, so shut up. And Dylan also tells Adrian that they're codependent. Adrian doesn't like that either. He's like, okay, who fucking cares? I don't care.
Or who told you that? Where did you come to that conclusion from? Because I truly think that Freya is telling him the same thing. Like, I think that part of why Adrian gets mad in this moment, because I think that Dylan did not ever tell him that he had that conversation with Freya. Obviously, he's avoiding him, right? But I also think that he's like,
I'm sure she was, saying that too.
I've heard these terms coming out of her mouth. Yes. Yeah. So why? So how did he get to this conclusion? I think he feels like he's got some betrayal, some backstabbing going on.
But even when he leaves, he's like, I'm giving you space, but this is temporary. I'm going to be back. This conversation is not over.
Right.
So it's been a week. Dylan hasn't heard anything from Adrian. He's moping around the apartment, having insomnia. Andy is still staying there. And he's like, why don't you just talk to him? And Dylan's like, Freya's so nice. You don't understand. He tells Dylan, Andy tells Dylan to stop being a martyr. And I'm just like, Andy, yes.
Thank you,
Standing ovation for Andy. Thank you. So now it's been 2 weeks. Dylan's still super depressed, being insufferable, but he does finally start doing things to distract himself, like going to the gym. He gets a cookbook, he starts cooking through it, putting one foot in front of the other. Nina and Dylan meet so she can tell him about the settlement from the charter company. It was for $2.6 million. And they both just want to accept that, Dylan and Adrian do, for the litigation to be over. And Nina is like, this no, this is just an offer. We're going to counter offer. She wants to barter, but,
Mhm.
or it's a negotiation, but they just want to get it over with. And Dylan's still very depressed. His number one goal, though, is putting on an act of being normal. He doesn't want anyone else to know what he is going through, which, again, is annoying to me. But once he gets the settlement money, though, he buys himself a car and just starts driving to pass the time. Did you have something to say? Did you have something to add?
No, this whole part made me sad. And then this also just kind of reiterated the fact that he's doing things to put one foot in front of the other, quote unquote, but he still has not gone to therapy. So he's doing things.
He's actually not coping. He's just surviving.
Yes, exactly. He's like, I maybe need to at least act like a person and do some stuff, but
he's a shell.
Exactly. Yes.
He is Bella Swan in the month chapters of New Moon.
Yeah.
So Dylan goes to visit his mom's grave one day. He's remembering things about her. Oh my God. The quote. Okay, I have another fucking quote.
Yes.
He's looking at her grave. It's all very simple, clean, and clinical. Nothing about the way she used to leave notes in my lunchbox or always kissed me on the forehead before bed. How she used to cut sandwiches diagonally instead of straight because it tastes better this way. Or how she always used to repeat keys, wallet, phone, ready to go under her breath before she went out the door. I was like, fuck you. I was so sad.
It was so
and he was
sad.
only 5 and like,
oh,
moms are so important.
Yes, they are. Oh my God.
It's so sad. But he tells his mom everything. Just word vomit, not just everything that happened on the island, but how he's always loved Adrian as well. And when he's finished, a voice says, "You should tell him." This was really funny because he thought, he's in a graveyard. Like, he's really scared, but it's Nina. So yeah, he almost screams. But Nina just happened to be also visiting and listened to his whole story. And Nina tells Dylan she's been visiting his mom more since Dylan went missing. And she tells Dylan that she failed him, that she was never supposed to be someone's mother. She is not good at emotions, and she didn't know how to give Dylan the things that he needed. And then things just got worse after Uncle John died. I'm really glad Nina was here. She continues to encourage Dylan to tell Adrian how he feels. She's very clinical. I mean, she probably has like autism too or something.
Yeah.
Very clinical with her.
Is.
Yeah, with her questions and her analysis of the situation, but this helps Dylan like remove the emotion from it. And she's basically like, you are being stupid. Silence is the worst thing you could do. You'll regret knowing there was more you could have done. You'll regret more the things you didn't do versus the shooting your shot, giving it your all, getting rejected, right? And this finally gets through to Dylan, so he takes off to go find Adrian. He eventually finds him. It's pouring rain now. Adrian's at the garage. Dylan finds him. The doors are all locked. He's pounding on the doors. He's about to give up. But of course, at that point, Adrian comes out and here comes a love confession in the rain.
A rom-com
the catharsis
moment. Yay, thank goodness. Oh my God.
Oh my God. And so Dylan finally tells Adrian, I've loved you since the moment we met. I've been in love with you since we were 15. And he tells Adrian just how much he's yearned and ached and wanted him. And he says, for Adrian, us started on the island, but for Dylan, it started long before that. So for Dylan, it's always been Adrian. So he's like, yeah. Adrian's worried about codependency and all of this stuff, but it's not for me. I've already felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he will never love anyone else. He's tried to stop. That's why he went to San Francisco, because of Adrian, because he couldn't stay in Boston and watch Adrian love somebody else. It was killing him. And then Adrian asks why Dylan never said anything. And Dylan says, because you were never meant to be mine. I accepted that a long time ago. You were happy, and that was the only thing that mattered. I know.
He could have been happier with you, but
right. I just like could have saved a lot of people a lot of heartache, Dylan.
Yeah.
And you could have avoided a plane crash. Then Dylan says, I guess you could say I lied to you. I told you I loved you, but it's more than that for me. Like, Adrian owns Dylan body and soul. And Adrian's response is, you goddamn idiot.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love you. It's not just you who feels this way. You're my everything. Yeah, I've missed you every day you weren't with me my whole life. He's crying. Dylan's still waiting, but they start to hug. And he won't ask about Freya because he's like, what's going on with Freya? But Adrian says, I'm not going to tell you I don't love her anymore. Like, I can't. I do love her. And of course, Dylan immediately starts to spiral. Like, he literally can't even hear her name without almost having a panic attack.
Yeah.
Like, he's about to run away again.
So they just had this major love confession, and Dylan still doesn't believe it, essentially. Yeah. I mean, Adrian is at least being honest and being like, I love her, but it's not the same as I love you. Hello. Like,
right.
Come on,
So
Dylan.
Dylan's, and I'm like, yeah. So Adrian grabs Dylan's arm and says, like, I'm not done talking. Hello, lips moving, still talking. Don't go anywhere. And he goes, I've been trying to figure out if it's possible to love two people at the same time. Not in the same way, but just as much. I've been thinking about that ever since we got home. And he's been too stuck and dumb to see the answer. But Adrian says to Dylan, it's not about me choosing between you and Freya. I can't choose because that choice has already been made for me. He says Freya's what could have been. It's not about whether Adrian loves Dylan or Freya more because he would have been happy with Freya. He would have had a good life with her if everything had to stay the same, but it didn't stay the same.
Period.
Adrian's not the same person anymore. The island changed him. It changed Dylan. It changed everything. And now he's Dylan's Adrian. And the idea of being without Dylan, like, he can't even imagine it. And he says there's no one else he can be with other than Dylan. Adrian's heart wants Dylan. And then Dylan says the tagline, I think the only reason I was put on this earth is to love you. So they're both scared. They talk about how they're scared, but then they start making out in the rain. And they just keep telling each other they love each other. You know, you're my whole life. I'll do anything. Like, you have me. They go back to Dylan's place. They have sex. It is intense. That was intense.
Yeah.
So intense.
Yeah.
They're just saying, I love you the whole time. My life. Oh, God, what's some of that? The baby is thrown around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some intense stuff in here.
For the readers, this is chapter 70 of the book, if you need some info.
Yeah. So then Dylan wakes up after sleeping for 12 hours, and Adrian's still there. He says again that Dylan is in every sentence on every page of Adrian's plans. They're just blissfully happy. They spend the whole day in bed, I think. Then they go get food. They drive to the beach. This is when they drive to the beach. And then they sit and talk about their future. So I think this is the first time they've gone back. And then Dylan asks about Freya, and Adrian tells him that he ended things with her.
And then he made it sound like not quite a while ago.
I was wondering.
Like, it had been a decent amount of time. So there is a very good chance that a lot of those times that Adrian was not with Dylan, he was just with his family. And Adrian was just assuming that he was with Freya. So.
I just had a thought, too.
Yeah.
Because that whole Dylan or Adrian feeling at peace and then both thinking how if they could stay on the island or they wouldn't leave happened before the physical therapy pickup thing. So I wonder if Adrian broke up with Freya and that's why she orchestrated that thing to try to, be like, listen, this is an issue. Although I don't know if they would have been so happy and smiling.
Right.
But she could have pretended like, I understand. And I, maybe tried to one more time to do it. But that was another thing I thought too, is like when he showed up and was like, we need to talk. This conversation isn't over. You can't avoid me. If also that he had already broken up with her.
I kind of wondered that as well.
I'm not going to give you that information until you deserve it.
Right.
So he finds out, they broke up, and Adrian realized that it wasn't about choosing Dylan or Freya. It was Dylan or nobody.
Yeah. That was
Freya
such
took it pretty well.
validating scene.
Yeah. And Adrian reflects on the fact that he wasn't jealous of Freya's dude, but he hates Indy, and he's so jealous of him.
I loved that. I love that. Oh my God. Finally.
So Adrian and Dylan go to Adrian's parents' house. They tell him they're together. News is taken well. They also tell the rest of the family. And then they make plans to buy a house like they talked about on the island. Then we cut to 4 years later. Dylan and Adrian are married and living just like they imagined on the island. Adrian's family visits often, and they're in town to celebrate Dylan's 30th birthday. Freya's married to that dude, and she still comes around to weddings, etc. And everything's good. The end. We did it.
We did it.
This was long. This was longer than I anticipated.
I know. I was like, I think we got to maybe about the halfway point, and then we started going, and I'm like, oh, we've got so much that's going to happen.
This was a longer book.
It was. It was over. It was, I think, 540, 550 pages. I mean, that's a long read for a a romance, in my opinion. A lot of times I feel like that kind of 375 page mark usually does it.
Yeah.
But this book had the interconnected layer of like the life before, then everything that happened to them on the island, and then everything that came after. So it was a 3-part book, and each part was close to 200 pages. It was necessary, I think, to get the story.
And so much in their head. Not a ton of events happened. It was all them thinking and dealing with their feelings.
Yes.
Well, what did you give this book? What's your rating?
So I gave it 4 stars. It's like 3.5 to 4 for me. I got to the point where Dylan just pissed me the fuck off, and I was getting really
I was trying to be
him.
Nice to him, but I was like, grr.
Yeah. Well, I think that what got a little irritating for me was just the repetitiveness of the way the author actually used a lot of the phrasing, the guilt that he's stolen things, that he was a thief. It got overused to a point where I was like, oh my God, we get it. He feels guilty about taking away Adrian. Can we either try to say this in a different way or have him come to light a little bit more about these feelings? Like something kind of needed to switch a little bit with that. So that part irritated me. However, I do feel like it was a more unique story than a lot of other ones that I have read. So I did appreciate that side of it. The love triangle trope is literally my least favorite in a romance story. So that is just annoying to me. And well, because I understand it as a plot device and for the angst buildup, but it generally is not a favorite of mine to read or to get past. It makes me furious most of the time. I don't like it. So yeah. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I was also going back and forth, but I landed on 3 stars. My ultimate thing, 3 stars is a good rating. It was a good book. I never felt like I needed to like force myself to read it or, anything like that.
Right.
I wouldn't reread it.
No.
And that's usually my criteria for it to be a 4-star read. And I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to recommend it to someone. But if they were like, do you have it? Be like, oh, I read this book this year and it was, that was good.
It was fine. Yeah.
Put it on your list. It's not like put it to the top, but if you see it and you want to read it, do it.
Yep. I kind of felt the same way. Like, this is not one that I would go out of my way to tell people, like, hey, I just read this really great book.
Right.
So that was, and I think, like I said, I think it was a little too long in some parts. And I got annoyed with Dylan. So that it's always hard when you kind of start to struggle with connecting with a character about wanting to kind of, I don't know, I think I wanted a little bit more character growth from him just in general in the book. And I think that if that would have happened, it would have maybe like changed a little bit of my overall.
Maybe if he actually tried to improve himself.
Right. Because
and we get like his switch, he confesses, the book's over.
Right. Well, and so then that's what always gets hard too, right? Like you understand like why the author has the trajectory that they do with things, because the book would have been over if he would have just admitted it at the very beginning. Like there's no story anymore. So you get
Roll
it,
credits.
but that doesn't, I know, but it doesn't make it like any less frustrating sometimes as the reader to have to like go through that and just be like, oh my gosh, just get your shit together. Like this is driving me insane.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
What about your spice rating?
So this is an interesting one because I thought that the scenes that were described were pretty graphic, but overall, as far as like the content of the book that included those scenes, it was fairly minimal, like percentage wise, I would say. Although because I
there
think
really wasn't a lot.
No, but because of chapter 70 alone would probably put it in the 4 chili pepper arena for those of you who, kind of look at stuff like that because, and I don't know, we did not go into the scenes in detail on when they actually were on the island, but that was also because that felt very frantic and not.
It was almost like a montage.
Yeah, and not quite as, there wasn't like the connection really as much. Like it was happening, but it was very different feeling than kind of your traditional like romance where they're falling in love and you get that kind of scene. And that's where like that at the end of the book is where you kind of feel like a little bit more of the connective.
Yeah, like actual intimacy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was leaning toward like 3, although I still am new to my spice rating scale, but it just didn't feel like, I think again, overall, it wasn't like the book was pure smut. You know, it was past the halfway point before they start having sex. And then in part 3, they only have one sex scene, you know, so it's not a ton.
Compared to
And
some of the other things that we've
right,
read.
in the grand scheme of things. But if you've never read anything scandalous or an MM romance, maybe it would feel like a 4.
Yeah. And that's what's hard, because sometimes, like, with my rating on that is I'm like, if it gets overly descriptive or if the scene takes more than 2 pages where it's being described, you know what I mean? That will sometimes kind of put people a little bit over the edge when it gets overly anatomically
graphic.
Discussed. Yes.
Totally. Well,
that was quite the adventure. Yeah.
Glad that's over.
Me too.
We're trauma bonded now.
Yes, we are. And I hope you are too, listener.
Join us next time.
I know. We've kind of failed. We picked another very long book to review and discuss.
We're reading a couple of things.
Yes.
So next episode will either be The Dark Lord's Guide to Dating
or People We Meet on Vacation. So
yeah, but they both will be episodes eventually. So
yes. So
all right. Well, I love you.
We love you so much. Thank you for listening.
I'm not in love with you.
Well, very, very important distinction. So just, I love you, not in love. Yes. Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Bye.